Well, there goes the Daverhood. Good morning, everybody, and welcome on this Saturday morning, August 20. Why am I dropping my G's? What's up with that? It's a morning. I'm from New York. I lived in Colorado for a long time. It's not morning. Oh, what a beautiful morning. August 24th, 2019. For the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz. And let's see who else. And Lawrence, who just joined us. And of course, my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, will be joining us hopefully by telephone in just a little bit. And the great Rabbi Saul Solomon will also be part of the show today because he will be interviewing an Israeli musician. I'll be telling you more about that and all the usual unusuals that we do here in the Daverhood. I'll even explain this thing that's over there that got tilted somehow. I'm not sure that, the Scotch tape broke off. Oh, this is so sad. Hold on. Let's have some evenness because this is a high quality, high budget program here. So let's do this. Oh, so much better. I'll explain that. But anyway, welcome also to Fred from Friendy and all you folks listening. As a matter of fact, let's not waste any more time, although I'll be wasting about 3 hours of your time later on in the show. It's time for Dave's Gone By, which would be really helpful if I took the volume of this computer. Let's forget one little thing, or let's say this without the G, one little thin.
Good morning. There goes the Daverhood.
And there was much rejoicing.
Didn't your meds kick in yet?
We got David Lefkowitz here. He's a Long Island arts guy. He's got his own radio show.
I want you all to really enjoy a wonderful program done by a fine artist.
A glorious thing of unparalleled beauty.
Dave's Gone By. Dave is one of my very favorite broadcasters, so keep on listening to Mr. Dave.
Two flamingos in a fruit fight.
Well, as I said, there goes the Daverhood. Probably have to come up with a different line to get you all into that because I open even before I play the music with "Well, there goes the long A Daverhood," and then it's part of our promo that's pre-recorded, and then I come back and say it again. So I'm going to think of something else about the Daverhood and Dave's Gone By, which is this Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the stream that you are watching and that you hopefully tune in for every Saturday from 9 until noonish or thereabout Eastern time with me, Dave Lefkowitz. Welcome to Lawrence and Fred and Ralph and Reggie and all the folks who are going to be joining us watching live on Facebook. It is August 24th for our 710th episode of the show. And it's going to be a really cool one. It's going to be musical. It's going to be cultural. I hope it'll also be a bit funny, generally what we do here. So here's the really cool part. Here's the guest part of the show. In just a little while, longish little while, Rabbi Saul Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches, who is also a stage theatrical kind of person. They did a reading of his show, Shalom Dammit, An Evening with Rabbi Saul Solomon, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago to kind of raise money to bring that to Off-Broadway. So we're going to see what's happening with that. But he's also a part of this program and has been ever since our first episode back in October of 2002. And Rabbi Saul does some of our interviews. Well, he's very excited because not only will he be interviewing a musician today on the program, but he'll be talking to a Jewish Israeli musician. So Rabbi Saul, he's been failing all week about this. He's David Broza, David Broza has been at this for about 4 decades now, mixing European sort of and conventional American pop with Israeli song stuff, both in English and in Hebrew. He's got a bunch of albums out. He's a multi-platinum artist, very well known in Israel, not quite so well known in America, but he certainly performs here a lot and tours here a lot. As a matter of fact, David Broza is going to be playing at the Rubin Museum of Art, not this coming Friday, but Friday next, which will be September 6th. So you're going to want to go see him there. But you're also going to want to hear him on Dave's Gone By, talking live with Rabbi Sal Solomon, all about David Broza's music, and he did time in the Israeli army, as you have to over there, and his friendship, brief but rather important, with Townes Van Zandt, and a whole bunch of other stuff, and about poetry, and hopefully some comedy things as well. And hopefully, I will stop using the word hopefully incorrectly, as I have been. It's an adverb, folks. But welcome, by the way, to Stan. Haven't seen him in a couple of weeks, so Stan says good morning to you, Stan, as well. Thanks for joining us in the Daverhood on this Saturday AM. What else we're going to be doing on the show? We have Greeley crimes and old times. Not a lot of crimes, because the Greeley Tribune has been falling down on the job again, but they have given us some old times to work with, and an amazing story outside of Greeley, Colorado to talk about as well. We'll go inside Broadway, very cool segment today with Broadway news. We have announcements of a couple of Broadway shows that will be coming this season. That was just announced this week. We also, I will be reviewing a musical I saw this week, not quite on Broadway, sort of off Broadway at City Center. It's the Meatloaf Jim Steinman-based musical Bat Out of Hell. They made a show out of it. Oh, they sure did. And I went to see it, and I'll let you know what I thought. Bat Out of Hell on Inside Broadway on Dave's Gone By. What else do I have to share with you? Our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. Because I've been living in Colorado for almost a decade, I started writing little limerick poems about different towns and municipalities in Colorado. Kind of fun, kind of naughty, kind of risque, and short. We'll have one about the town of Marble. Bet you didn't even know that even existed. Marble, Colorado, on our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. And what else? Oh, and story time. How could I go? I don't know how I survive 6.5 days without Why Fish Fart. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, Why Fish Fart. We've been reading a little bit from this book every single week. It's all about gross but true things you'll wish you didn't know, a book by Francesca Gould, and it's essentially all the most horrible, disgusting jobs and delicacies that people eat that you can imagine, and bodily functions too. It's basically the reason I exist, books like this, Why Fish Fart. We'll be dipping back into it here in the Daverhood today. I love how every time I do something, the light changes in this room. This is why filmmakers control for the light. I don't know why. I suddenly see cold, blue, sort of Arctic, cryptic, warm, gentle, loving, cold, scary, vampires, warm, tender, Lifetime Movie Network. I don't get it. I don't understand it at all, but that's what it is. Anyway, let's see how we're doing here. What do I want to talk to you about before we get to the show proper, because I kind of like to yak about things and clear my throat and talk to you all. Let's see. Oh, Stan, to be with us in the Daverhood. This is kind of great. Stan is playing hooky from shul this morning. Well, so is Rabbi Sal. If you think about it, I mean, he's going to be live talking to David Broza in the Daverhood. What the hell is he doing stepping away from Temple Sons of Bitches? I don't understand. It's sort of a don't ask, don't tell thing, so we won't. But, oh no, it moved again. Here we go. Here's our backdrop for the show today. That backdrop is meaningful because I'm very proud of my mother this week. Now, here's the deal. I've started working a full-time job. Not really going to talk too much about it. Not too much to talk about it. If you want to see a picture of me with my cohorts at this job, we actually had Hawaiian Shirt Day earlier in this week. Everybody was supposed to come in wearing Hawaiian shirts and we all take this group picture because that's the kind of thing that makes working 40 hours a week for the rest of your goddamn life fun. So I put on the closest thing I have to a Hawaiian shirt, as did all of us. And I took a really lovely picture out in the garden of this place. And everybody looks great. The girls look cute and the guys look really good and happy. Even though it was like a Tuesday morning and there's nothing happy about it. And I'm there. And I've got my cool Octa shirt. I probably have it already back in here. And I'm smiling, but also I'm so used to being in the front row of these things because I'm short. I'm about 5'3", or I was 5'3" in my 20s. Now I'm about 5'2.5", because this is what happens with age. And I always get to the front and I always squat down to make sure, because I'm a good guy and I don't want to block the person behind me. Meanwhile, I could stand on stilts and not block usually the person who's standing behind me in a photograph. But I'm standing there, I'm hunching for it, I'm giving a big smile, and I'm trying to keep my eyes open even though the sun is literally penetrating our corneas as we're taking the photo. And you see me hunching like this, and it honestly looks like I'm taking a dump. Everybody, all the girls are like, they got sunglasses, they're happy in their pretty little Hawaiian dresses, and the men are like standing there and they're like, all macho and stuff. And me, I'm like, oh yeah, which is, of course, if you know me and if you know my work, really, really appropriate. But at the same time, I'm like, why? I can take a good picture. I'm not a handsome guy, but I can take a pretty good picture most of the time. And I'm trying to smile and keep my eyes open and smize. And it's just my position. I'm hunching forward. I'm like, something good's kind of going to come out of this photo, and it's not a photograph. So yeah, if you just scroll down after you watch the program and you look at the latest photo on my website that they shared with the Facebook page that you're watching, there it is. So that happened this week. What else happened this week? What do I want to talk to you about? Oh yeah, since I was talking about Colorado, I do want to say I'm kind of disappointed, but not surprised. And I haven't gotten political on this show in a while. Certainly not directly political about the president and this country and politics. I watch so much less MSNBC and Fox News and CNN since I moved back to New York. It's a function of not having a TV in my room, which is great. And also, my folks keep the news on all the time, which is what older people do. But I'm away from that, and I don't want to deal, and I hate now how much time I would spend with the TV on in the background, just flipping back and forth from MSNBC and Fox while I was making lunch, or just upstairs, or having it on in the background while doing something. And it's useless, it's blather, it's mostly, I wouldn't say lies, but it's complete biased spin, as we all know. But if it's sensible and you're listening and it feels logical, you take it in. And osmotically, it goes into your pores, and you start thinking about this, and you start going on MSNBC, and the president is terrible, and the administration is horrible and evil, and then you flip to Fox, and it's like, well, they're a little bit crazy, but a lot of times they're making a lot of sense, and blah, 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 right? So I don't generally, as we move closer to the election, I'll probably pontificate a bit more. But I was disappointed this week when John Hickenlooper dropped out of the presidential race. I don't know if you heard that. I don't know if anybody heard that he had dropped in, which was part of the problem. But Hickey said, nope, they slipped him a Mickey, and out went Hickey, because he just was gaining no traction whatsoever. And we've become, I guess, so polarized that a true middle of the roader, like he is, it was just finding hard to be heard above the clamor. Because when you've got a Bernie and a Kamala and, what is her name? Forgive me, Elizabeth Warren, and folks like that, and Cory Booker, who are loud and left. And then you have Watt on them, who are sort of middle and more central. Oh, speaking of which, someone who's going to get me out of my political funk here is my darling and adorable wife, Joyce. Let's see if I can get her on speaker. Joyce, hello. This is my darling Joyce. How are you?
Hey, my darling David, how are you?
I'm good. I'm actually doing all right. I'm having a little fun opening the Dave's Gone By show today. You were back in Colorado, back in our house in Greeley. How you doing?
Good. So I've been watching all the DVDs that we have in the house.
Yeah.
You know, because of the cable situation. So I watched all the murder mysteries like the first week. And then last night I watched Bruno, but it was so annoying I couldn't watch it anymore.
Wait. Bruno the Sacha Baron Cohen film? It's funny.
It was so embarrassing to watch him like embarrass people. I felt like their shame.
Yeah.
And then I put in Dennis Leary because I thought I needed comedy, but he's just offensive. I think he's got problems.
Okay. What comedian doesn't, hon? What comedian doesn't have problems, you know?
So I'm going to go to school and get some DVDs, you know, and I get some new stuff. I've watched almost everything in the house and read almost every book.
Well, wait. Don't you have Wi-Fi internet access? Aren't you binging on Orange is the New Black, or have you finished it all finally?
No, I don't watch it on the school computer. I just watch Acorn, but I've seen everything on Acorn.
Oh, okay.
Well, not everything, but the things that I like to watch. So
Well, I told you to find and load up my old Mac. You can watch on that.
I don't even know where it is. I don't know.
Well, anyway, because when Joyce was in New York, it was like every spare minute would go towards Orange is the New Black. And you didn't like it at first, and then it's like, I must watch this, you know?
It's like a telenovela, like with really bad, inaccurate representation of women in prison and you know, the treatment of women in prison. So I just watched it because you can veg out. If you watch something so like stupid or so whatever, it takes you away from reality. That's the joy of it.
Well, it's mostly a comedy. Like, some seasons were more serious than others, but a lot of times they do get satirical. It's not supposed to be an accurate representation like a Frederick Wiseman documentary.
No, but the main character, Piper, whoever, she was actually in prison. She's a consultant, so she's supposed to base it on real stuff.
Oh, right. Okay, but still, Hollywood, and it's not even Hollywood anymore. It's wherever the Netflix show will emerge from is going to make its changes, and it's and let's be honest. There's hot lesbo action. Yeah, but wait. Oh, well, good. I'm kind of almost glad you're saying ugh. Although we can talk. But did she and Ruby Rose ever hook up? Because damn, I wanted to see that.
I don't know who Ruby Rose is.
She's the one. She's beautiful face and horrible tattoos all over her.
Oh, you don't like it? I don't remember. Like, to me, it's a blur of like just like stupidity. So.
Oh my god! Yeah, blur stupidity that you watch 4.5 seasons of, nonstop.
Yeah. To be honest, between my sabbatic work and other stuff, I didn't have a whole lot of other stuff to do.
Yeah.
So I was spending time in the room with the dog. The dog also liked it.
Now, did the dog see?
He fell asleep. Like when he watched it, he would go right to sleep.
Well, so would I, except when there'd be hot lesbo action, if you know what I'm saying. And I think you do, and I think all my viewers do. Perhaps they don't.
God help us, David.
Yeah.
God help us. God help us.
So yeah, but you do have access to both the public library and the school library. You can take out.
The school library, like I looked in there, what's new DVDs, and they have a lot of good stuff. So I'm gonna go check some stuff out. You know?
Well, I would be careful because the school library charges you like a $2 a day late fee if you bring something back.
Not for faculty.
Oh.
Faculty have I think we have like a longer time.
Yeah.
Look, I'm gonna see. They always like curate what's new, and they have like different themes, and so I'm gonna go there probably today or tomorrow. But I'm watching. You got me this. It's not Dial M for Murder. It's the yellow box, and it's like all these old English murder mysteries.
Oh
and
yeah.
They're dark. They're like I don't know I don't know when they're made, but they're very good.
Oh good.
One was like a woman's at a spa, and she's a masseuse. And it turns out the couple there, the guy's actually like a titled nobleman. He was her boyfriend, and she redid that whole spa as the nobleman's house, and then he sold it, and he shacked up with another woman, and he dumped her. And so she's ready to kill people, and it's really good.
Oh, good.
They're not Agatha Christie. I'll look. It's a really good series.
Great, okay.
I don't know where you found all the stuff, but there's some really good stuff.
Well, I would grab stuff occasionally. Sometimes they would send me, back when I was reviewing videos and things, I would sometimes get these things from Acorn, or there was another company.
It's called Time for Murder. It's very good.
Good.
And then I watched something like, The Queen of Crime. That was great. And the Hetty Winthrop, I love those.
You love those. Yeah. So let me
watch the cartoons or a lot of the Broadway stuff. Or you have like Howdy Poopy, the musical.
Wait, what do you mean I have Howdy Poopy the musical? I never...
No, it's Howdy Doody, I'm sorry.
Oh, Howdy, yeah, no, they sent me actual Buffalo Bob Howdy Doody TV things from the 1950s, which I still haven't seen.
I got confused because it's right next to Pull-Up Potty Training Success Video and Mama Donnie's Jewish Holiday Party.
Mama Donnie's Jewish Holiday Party! Oh my gosh. I finally got in touch with her a couple of months ago, but we couldn't get her on the archive. I might try again this year, we'll see. Because she's not doing that stuff anymore. She's in doing more folky music things. Little sad. Mama Donnie not lighting the candles anymore. People have no idea what the hell we're talking about, do you folks? But I'm talking with my darling wife, Joyce. So how's Greeley?
It's, for me, so we live near a park, right? It's called, is it Cranford?
Well, Glenmere or Cranford, pick one. Yeah.
And so, I was in Sweden for a conference, and that park is absolutely like Sweden. They put little lights in it. It's got a beautiful lake. And the other day, my allergies are rough because I'm here, I'm getting used to it. The other day I walked past and there were a flock of geese.
Yeah.
And some ducks and stuff. They were gorgeous. And they were molting. It's very beautiful. It's gorgeous. So I walked that park quite a lot. I think it's just absolutely beautiful.
Oh, wonderful.
And in the lake where the lily pads were, where I took the picture,
there
were 3 ducks.
Oh.
So I took pictures of them. Yeah. It's beautiful, it's just that's beautiful.
And were you guys having a heat wave there, or has it been temperature more moderate there?
And it's been up to the 80s, but it's not been bad because I choose the route that has tree cover, we have trees, but also there's no humidity. When the humidity is different, you don't feel hot like that. Although when I did get to school, Gunter's air conditioning was being fixed, so it was a little toasty. Of
course. Well, everything is toast at UNC at this point, isn't it?
God bless the admin. We found a room downstairs, because the radiology clinic has to have AC for the machines.
Right.
It was beautiful, so we just camped out. It was great.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So good. So let's see. What else what happened to you? Because you flew back a couple of days ago. While I'm stuck here in New York, you're traipsing around beautiful, gorgeous Colorado with the park and the trees and the 80-degree weather.
It also has that funk smell. I smelled it a little bit. I was like, whoa,
You mean our house?
All the cattle farting,
Oh.
The cattle farting.
Yes. It's more than farting. They're being skinned and treated, and the offal being pulled out of their bodies by the JBS plant. That's what you're smelling in Greeley, Colorado. Plus, I left... When I knew you would be coming back without me for a couple of weeks, I left some farts for you in and around Greeley, so that you wouldn't cheat on me, so that you would smell me wherever you went. Yeah, in the couch, in the kitchen.
Did you go Cisneros and all the other the food places and make people get extra beans?
Well, no, they're my own. I don't need other people to fart for me. I can do it perfectly well by myself. I'm telling you. Did you see the picture I was telling folks about? Did you see on my Facebook page? They posted a photo that they took of us where I'm working, of all of us in Hawaiian shirts.
Oh.
You tell me, did you see it? Did you see the photo? Oh, okay.
Did you wear the black shirt with the palm leaves?
No, I hadn't washed it. That was still in the wash, so I brought in the octopus shirt.
Oh, that's very festive, too.
Yeah, it looks Hawaiian-ish. But if you see the picture, tell me how I look in relation to everyone else in that photo. Just when you get a chance, tell me what I kind of look like in relation to.
Did you put on jazz hands? Were you all peppy?
Well, we were all big smiling, and the sun was right in our eyes, so it was a little difficult, but we did a pretty good. It came out very well, actually.
Because nobody parties like library people. They go for at their conferences. Woohoo!
Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about
it. They go to Amsterdam. They go,
We live on the edge. Well, at least the edge of the page.
Your labels to askew. It's like,
Oh, please. No, oh, God forbid I should put on a label a little bit crooked. Oh, no. It's like, libraries are the kingdom of OCD. They really are.
But it's a good fit for you, Boba.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I mean, I'm not going to talk about my work on here because I will get. I need 3 months before the union can protect me, and then I can say what I want.
Asked about you, So Katie and her husband are like, we want to take you and David, come to dinner.
Oh.
Even Beth, when she came to, see the house, she was like, how's David? Everybody is like, how's David? How's David? Where's David? I'm like, what am I, chopped liver? They're like, oh, David. I'm like, yes, his name is David.
It's so.
How's David? What's David doing? David. Even Diana, David.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, David.
Yeah, me, because it's all about me. And let them invest in my show. Then let them put some money into Shalom, damn it, please. And bring it off Broadway. I'm just saying.
You're going to do really well, David. I feel it.
Thank
I'm
you.
never wrong. When am I wrong?
Not going there. Okay. Not answering that question.
About those predictions and stuff, I'm not wrong.
Generally not. Generally, you are not wrong about that. Although, I mean, if I make it to Broadway when I'm 88 years old, you'll still be right. Well, God willing, yeah, you'll be there, and all these are friends who are very cool and kind and looking after our stuff in Colorado. So what else? I was talking about Hickenlooper. Why you never were into John Hickenlooper?
No.
Why?
He's some dude that got an idea to redevelop downtown, and now he wants to be a politician. I give him credit. Like, you develop downtown, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You develop a brewery, that's awesome. But it doesn't make you a politician, right?
Well,
those skills are not transferable. I'm an academic, but I'm not a politician. It's not like a plumber can be an electrician. You have to stay in your scope of practice, and I don't think he is.
But you complained that when a previous administrator that was running the university was a lawyer and a businesswoman, but not an academic, you were saying, oh, they have no business because they're not an academic. But you need a politician in that kind of situation. So
no, it's scope of practice. The president has to be an academic.
Of a university.
Also lobby.
Yeah.
I mean, but you have to fit the bill of your school. It's like if you get a cardiac surgeon and they say, well, I'm really a dermatologist, but I'm going to operate on your heart. You're like, oh, heck no. Right? So, it's the same thing for me. Like, you can be a good business person. Like, Hickenlooper can be a great business person, revitalize downtown.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that I'm going to promote him as a politician, right? It's like, to be a president or to be a higher level politician, it's a different skill set for me than just, one thing. So.
Yeah, but I mean, of the people who have been presidents, a lot of them have been military folks, generals and things like that. We have a businessman in office now, for better and worse, obviously.
Yeah.
But a politician, what does that even mean? It means a guy who's risen, or woman, who's risen through the ranks by making good speeches and being valuable. Well, what does it mean to you?
In business, you have to be ruthless and, outbid or cheat the competition to get ahead. Business isn't about ethics necessarily.
And politics is?
No, neither, but I don't think they're interchangeable skill sets.
Okay. Hopefully someone has both. And now I used hopefully again in the wrong. I'm forgetting. I'm using hopefully as I choose. Sorry,
Can you tell me about the picture? Describe it.
No, because I already did. I already talked about it. And I need you to see it before I put the thought into your head. I need you to look at me and look at that photo and in relation to what everybody else looks like and is doing. And I want you to tell me without my saying, oh, ... That's the point. Can you scroll down or you're not able to?
I can try it on my phone. Let me see. I'm not good with this kind of stuff.
While you're doing that, let me remind people that you're watching Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz, right here on this Saturday, August 24th, 2019. It's our 710th episode of the show. We're calling it BROZ Before HOZ. Sorry about that, but had to do it because David Broza, the Israeli musician, is going to be on the program today talking with the great Rabbi Salsa.
Wants me to log in with your password.
Oh, don't. Oh, because, no, you can go to my page through your Facebook login.
I don't know my login.
Oh, well,
you loaded it. I have no idea.
Well, then you can't see it. Oh, well.
Oh, you got to send it to me, Bubba.
Yeah, after the show's over, I will. I promise you. But what else?
I don't like your title. I find it offensive. Bros Before Hose is offensive.
We'll get BROZ before HOZ because Broza, David Broza, get it? Well, it could be about firemen. It could be about music taking precedence over firemen who use their hoses, right?
I don't think so. I'm not feeling that, really. I don't think that's it. No, not so much, honey.
Well, Anyway, by the way, did you know that Jay Inslee dropped out of the race also?
I think that, well, listen, there were so many candidates. It was like Belmont Stakes, for Christ's sake.
I know. It's
You
like,
know, it's like really, like, you know what you do? You saturate the market, and you get nothing, right?
well, the one thing I did want to mention, and I'm glad you called up to talk about this. I know, are you physically, because you got to turn down the volume to talk to me, but are you physically watching the image on Facebook now?
I'm not.
Oh, because you don't have you don't even have to, you're just calling on to talk. But I have in the background, as part of the image here on Dave's Gone By, this thing hanging down here is a dog diaper. And it's not, it's a clean dog diaper. I actually wrote the letters DGB on it for identification here, even though you can't really see them. So a dog diaper. Why? Why do you think I've got a dog diaper hanging as part of?
Someone just came walking their dog. I don't know.
No, this is I'm very, very proud about this because I'm working full time now, yippee me, and sometimes away from the house for hours on end, especially when I go straight from work to the theater.
It's because you get lost a lot too. You don't know where you're located sometimes.
I will start walking in Hewlett, Long Island, and somehow I will wind up in Hartford, Connecticut. It's just a thing. Yeah. And it doesn't take me that long. It takes about 45 minutes, which is a weird thing. Just Connecticut's closer than you think. But what will happen is I'll be out for 8 hours a day working, and then I'll get on the Long Island Railroad. I'll go see a show. I'll schlep back to the Long Island Railroad. And it's an endless freaking day. Endless for me, never ending for our wonderful, beautiful dog, who is sleeping as we speak, because he loves this show. He can sleep right through it. And problem is,
he feels so comforted by your voice. You lull him into a state of peacefulness.
Yeah. If only I could, well, I'm not going to make that joke. But anyway, but here's the deal. For him, the problem is, back in Colorado in our house, he's paper trained. He knows where to go, etc. Here,
so do you.
Mostly, I'm getting older, babe. I'm having accidents, and you know what I'm saying. Yeah, yes, indeed. So here, when we're living with my folks on Long Island, we're not taking that chance because he's an old dog, mostly blind. To say, oh, I think I'll go pee anywhere. So we keep a diaper on him, which is fine, and which generally works pretty darn well. So it's a wonderful invention, the diaper.
Yeah.
But it's one thing to keep a diaper on him for 6, 7, even 8 hours at a time. It gets really full, it gets really nasty, and it's a male diaper. So when he poops, but when he pees, that's what it's supposed to collect. Because poop you can pick up and throw away. Pee you don't want going into the carpet, right? As we've seen with my accidents. But so you put a diaper on a dog at 8:30 in the morning. By 5:30 in the afternoon, it's got JBS plant going on in there. It's got Armageddon.
And it changes color, so we know it's got an indicator.
Yeah,
right?
this yellow will turn to blue. Why they don't make blue turn to yellow, which would make a lot more sense logically if you think about it. But no, it goes from these yellow stripes turn blue, kind of like pregnancy test. He's pregnant with urine, ladies and gentlemen. So he'll go, he'll pee, he'll sleep, he'll pee, he'll eat, he'll pee.
Just like us.
And then by 5:30 in the afternoon, it's just the weight of the diaper with urine. It's just, and it's all, his fur is all matted and it's smelly and it's nasty down there. But the diaper holds, right? It does its job. It keeps the wee-wee inside the little...
Wee-wee, I like that, wee-wee.
Wee-wee. It keeps...
You're going French now, huh?
The urine in the garment. But if I go away for 15 hours at a time, that little doggy male small diaper, not going to quite do it. And I've seen this happen. I've seen where the diaper's on, he's working it, and then there's no room for the liquid. And it starts just sort of dripping out the side.
Can you double
I was thinking about that.
I don't know if that's even a thing.
Well, I don't know how he would feel about how that would work, and I guess it might help a little bit because it could go from one end to the other. Kind of, it remind me like the chocolate fountain in a bar mitzvah.
Oh God, please don't say that.
When the chocolate goes down, or think of a lemonade fountain, where it goes down some cups and then lower cups and more, and it's still caught in a trough underneath. But you have to give absolute props and credit to my mom, who did, I think it was yesterday or the day I was gone, for the first time, changed his diaper.
Whoa! We gotta get our gift certificate to Lido.
Yeah. I mean that was
Get that woman some pastrami.
because I showed her how to do it, and it isn't a difficult thing to do, but our dog, when he's really awake and lively, is kind of hard to wrangle. And he doesn't like the sound of the Velcro strip tearing across. He freaks from that.
You're always screaming, no, Velcro bad.
Yeah, well, when we're doing our sexual stuff, I am. But thank you for laughing. So, but she did. She wrangled him. She got him. She did the strip. She got one off, and then she got it around him, and it worked. And it held. So that's
what she gotta do when she wants to diaper him is put a bowl of food in front of him, so while he's eating, he's still and she can diaper him.
Because dogs, like humans, are basically tubes. The food goes in, it comes out. So they might as well get ready for what's coming out while he's literally putting food in. You're right.
Why not? Well, no, but this way he's in one place. He's not like running around like freak of the week.
Yeah, he's not concentrating on his gonads. He's concentrating on his muzzle, the food in front of him.
On his gonads. The other dog, Murray, he loved his gonads. Oofy not so much. Oofy loved to play, with toys. He wasn't in that,
Yeah, no, Murray was an odd, they're both ridiculous odd dogs, but Murray, our late first dog, our red dachshund, as we do with dogs, we had him, what's the word, not neutered. Is it? Yeah, it is neutered. What's the one for girls? Fixed.
I think spayed.
Spayed, yeah.
I don't know, honey. It's spayed or neutered. Yeah.
I think girls are spayed, and I'm not gonna make an African American joke there. I'm not gonna do it. But girls are spayed, and boys are neutered, and so we had him neutered. We had to wait until he was a little over a year because he had some other issues going on. So we didn't neuter him as quickly as we could. And for that particular reason, I guess, Murray was able to masturbate until he was about 5 years old.
It was amazing. They're like, oh, he's not going to be able to do it. He had an undescended testicle. He had a lot of health stuff. He was puppy now, right?
Yeah, he had crypt orchid, so they had to bring the ball down to cut it off.
Nothing ever stopped it. He was like a little machine, you know?
When he was bored, he would just, he'd start licking. As George Carlin would say, if I could do that, I wouldn't leave the house. But he could do it.
He also loved to eat, remember? He would see her. It was like happy time for him. He loved her.
Well, he never humped anybody's leg. He never did anything like that.
He did it for Taditi. I have pictures of him doing it to her.
He did hump her. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
He loved her.
Oh, I never, ooh.
She has a picture, I think, on her fridge or somewhere with him doing,
Oh, God.
But only when she was he's small, so he had to try for what he could get,
But I don't understand. How he was able to get the lipstick out and lick and rub whatever dogs do to, and then do his thing with no nuts.
God bless him. He was special in many ways.
I guess he was.
He was a special boy, and
his father's child.
And each of us have our talents, right? And
yes.
And that was what he did, and he loved it. I mean, God bless him.
What is Ufti's talent? What does Ufti have a talent?
Ufti is very sweet, and Ufti probably is living today because he was an athlete, and every single minute of his life he was catching a ball, chasing a ball, running, and that health aspect of his life probably is what's keeping him alive because he was super healthy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think that his athleticism was his joy, but also it kept him in great shape. I mean, you feel it now; he's muscular. You know, he loved to run and jump. Mom calls him egg roll kid because Mom and Eleanor were watching him, and he jumped up to the counter and stole the egg roll and ate it.
Yeah, that's true.
He's less than a foot tall, and how did he jump on a kitchen counter and grab an egg roll?
And built like a dachshund yet. I mean, we're not talking about a right. Yeah.
Trail mix from Sprouts, like, you know, a health food place. He has a lot of athleticism. He loves to run and play.
Certainly back in the day. Now he's arthritic, and he still, thank God, gets around. And he's still, yeah. But he used to run. He used to just, yeah. Ah, well.
Everybody has a thing. That's his thing.
It's funny that Ufti got joy from balls, and Murray got joy despite not having balls, if you think about it.
Well, but it's very different, you know? They're different. That was a very different experiences, yeah.
So,
you know.
I want to remind people that we're here with Dave's Gone By. We've got David Broza and Rabbi Sal Solomon coming up in a little bit. We've also got our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. We'll have our Today, Yesterday quiz, as well as going inside Broadway for news and reviews of the Rialto. But as long as I've got you on the phone, babe, do you want to join me for a bit of Greeley crimes and old times?
Well, I have somebody coming at 8. We have to get the car emissions tested, so we're going to try to do that.
Okay, so how long can you hang?
I have to just be mindful because I don't know. They're going to test me or be out front, so I can do a few minutes, but then I'm going to have to go because we want to get there early before everybody else goes, you know?
All right, so yeah, let's do a bit of Greeley crimes and old times, and then when you have to go, you go.
I just got a text from the person. Let me see.
Oh, hold on.
Okay, yes, I got to go, David. She's coming right now.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you, hon, for calling into the Daverhood. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Honey.
Okay. Have a good weekend.
Okay, love you. Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye-bye. And that was my wonderful and amazing wife, Joyce, calling in from Greeley, Colorado, to be on Dave's Gone By with us. So I guess we ought to do Greeley crimes and old times, sob, without her. It's not quite the same. Yes, Greeley crimes and old times, ladies and gentlemen, here on Dave's Gone By. Now, this is based on articles that are done in the local newspaper back home, the Greeley Tribune. Let me hold this up to you. This is a sample front page from a couple of months ago. And this is not like a little local community penny saver. All the ways a tree can kill you. I've shown this before. And then the magnificent the image, the most fantastic image ever for the front page of a newspaper. And by the way, welcome to Suzanne and Benjamin from my elementary school, actually. And Cynthia, of course, cousin Cynthia, welcome. And to Jeff, your husband as well. Scott and Jolinda and Chauncey. Hello, Chauncey, friend of the Daverhood. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday morning. So the Greeley Tribune generally does 2 columns during the week. One is called 100 Years Ago, which are stories that were found in the newspaper back in 1919. They find them, they collate them, the most nostalgic, ridiculous, funny ones from 100 years ago, and remind us what was in the paper back then, as well as a column called Cop Log, where it's phone calls that come into the local police department dispatch of ridiculous reasons that people think they need the police. However, the Tribune has been very bad about this recently. I know they've had money troubles. I know they've cut back their hard copies to 4 times a week. But really, guys, get on the stick, bring back Cop Log more than like once a month, so we have material. I don't have to write stuff to do this show. I don't have time. I need prefabricated material that I can make fun of. That's what I do. But anyway, we do have some old times for you. And here's sort of the sad part. Now that I'm back for the foreseeable future in New York, on Long Island, we have newspapers here, more community newspapers. For example, the Nassau Herald and the South Shore Record, which are both owned monopolistically by the same company. So they're nice community newspapers, and there isn't that much funny in them. You have to go to the real weird deeply Jewish papers that are local for the really wild stuff. But the Herald and the Tribune, okay, it's pretty normal. But I did find something local in the paper. Is this the Herald? This is the Nassau Herald from this week's edition. And it's not a story in itself, it's a photograph of an event at the Peninsula Public Library, which is a local library about 2 or 3 miles from where I live. Perfectly nice library with events for adults and book clubs, and excuse me, events for children. Now we know they had this whole big deal 2 or 3 weeks ago about the 50th anniversary of the moon landing, and Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin and all that. So everything was about the space and NASA and the moon landing. So there was a special program for children that apparently was done at the Peninsula Public Library a couple of weeks ago. Here's a photograph of the event. And it says, magician and puppeteer Bob Conrad performed a space-themed magic show. Ooh, like that. Magic show, kids, great, huh? And he received help from his extraterrestrial alien friend, EC, during the show. Okay, cute, great. I'm going to show you this picture of this puppet magic show from this guy, Bob Conrad, being done for children at our local public library. Let's take a look at this picture here. Let me get that right for you. I can hold it up a little closer. First of all, the poor guy looks like he's having a stroke. He's like, hey children, let me tell you about NASA. It's about space. And then look at that alien. Look at that horrible, scary friggin' alien creature. Nothing cute like E.T. They're like obsidian jewels for the eyes. The guy with the sort of the little stroke hand fingers going on there, the NASA shirt, the microphone, so he can boom his voice to the children. And it's like, if I were 5 years old and watching this, I would be traumatized for years. There's nothing about this that a 3, 4, even a 7 or a 9-year-old will want to look at. And I'm sure the guy's perfectly nice. I'm sure it's a wonderful show, but I'm sorry. No, just no. But yes, to Greeley Crimes and Old Times, ladies and gentlemen, which we do every Saturday, just about on Dave's Gone By. Let's get to it. Let's get to some of the items that were in the Greeley Tribune recently. These are going to be, actually, these are all going to be from 100 years ago in the newspaper. Mike Peters, our friend of the Daverhood, puts these together every week, goes through the newspapers back then, and tells us about them now. For example, and he tends to be mentioned in the newspaper back in 1919, almost every week, Clarence Darrow, the famous lawyer, the Scopes Monkey trial guy. I don't know, maybe he was from Colorado, but he tends to show up in Greeley a lot. So world famous lawyer Clarence Darrow spoke at the college last night. I think it was the Normal School, they called it. I'm not kidding, they called it the Normal School, or the Teachers College of Colorado in 1919. And he talked about the end of the Great War in Europe, meaning World War I. And Darrow said, quote, "There are worse things than war, and sometimes peace is one of them." Okay, Clarence Darrow wasn't exactly right about everything, but he explains that quote. He said that there likely be another great war in America's future, and it will bring the country back together again. Well, he sort of half right, wasn't he? Anyway, bit of Clarence Darrow there from 100 years ago. Here's a little story about a road hog. That's what they call him. A road hog who failed to dim his lights forced a farmer's auto off the road and into a muddy ditch. I kind of like these old stories just because they call a car an auto or an automobile or an auto machine. That just tickles me for no particular reason. So he failed to dim his lights, and he forced another farmer's auto off the road and into a ditch. The two men in the road hog car tried to escape, but they were caught by other autoists in the area. I'm kind of an autodidact, aren't I? They were forced to drive back to the scene and push the farmer's auto out of the muddy ditch. So, rather nice. Oh goodness gracious me, this is very exciting, ladies and gentlemen. We have For the first time, I think in a couple of weeks, a chicken alert. Ladies and gentlemen, chicken alert. Chicken alert. So much more fun doing that when Joyce is part of it. But yes, we have a chicken alert. This is when, in either new times or old times, a chicken is mentioned in a story, because they often are. Back in the day, hobos and chickens were very much a part of the news cycle of Greeley, Colorado. Chicken alert following a series of small chicken thefts. Are there other kinds of chickens and small ones? Following a series of small chicken thefts, some thieves got into the poultry house of C.C. Tressler, and they took 60 purebred Rhode Island red chickens. Well, I guess that's all poultry in motion. Kind of a hen party, if you think about it. I'm just taking wing here. Okay. Oh, cluck you. Tressler said he is out several $100s. It is believed that the thieves placed the stolen chickens in an auto to make their getaway. So, oh my goodness, a very sad and evil chicken alert, ladies and gentlemen, on Dave's Gone By. Okay, thank you very much. I would do a rim shot, but I don't have a drumstick. Okay, sorry. Continuing, twins. Yay, twins were born in 2 different counties this week. The mother was on a train from Fort Morgan. One twin was born as they came through Weld County, and the other one was born in Brighton, where the train stopped. And oddly enough, both twins, they looked alike. They were identical twins. However, the one born in Greeley had breathing and allergy problems almost instantly. Go figure. We have an advertisement. Ladies, take your corset problems to the Barclay Corset Doctor, Mrs. Blanche Abaher, over on 8th Avenue. So if you do have corset problems, and if you wear something like that, of course you do. See, the jokes are really tight this time. I'm just fit to be tied. All right, I'm sorry about all this. We're continuing really old times here on Dave's Gone By. Members of the Women's Christian Temperance Union, so these are all people who actually don't have members, which created the ban on alcohol in the United States, announced, this is interesting, that they are not seeking a law to make tobacco illegal. So here are the people who went out of their way to take alcohol off the streets, to make booze and liquor illegal in Colorado, and actually across America, and yet they're not touching tobacco and presumably firearms. While they are against tobacco use, they don't want to ban it. So they're angry about men being drunk and disorderly and alcoholic and all of that, which is understandable. People spitting tobacco in the street and walking through clouds of toxic, noxious tobacco and cigarette fumes. This, it's okay. I mean, I guess back then there wasn't as much horror put into a cigarette, the tar and the nicotine and the chemicals that make you get addicted. It was probably closer to just the original leaves. But still, it's amazing what some people get incredibly worked up and head up and activist about, and then look the other way on something else. But anywho, probably wise that they didn't go after tobacco. Let's go elsewhere, by the way. We like to do this as part of Greeley Crimes of All Time. Sometimes we find an odd story that isn't from Greeley, Colorado, that is from somewhere else in the world or in America. We kind of like to share that too. So we go elsewhere, and this time our dateline is from Fairfield, Connecticut. This was picked up by the Connecticut Post and then, I guess, reprinted or reported also by the New York Post. Connecticut, excuse me. There we go. Get the phlegm out, Dave. Connecticut residents have turned a wooded conservation area in Fairfield into their own sexual playground. Here we go. Cops have caught multiple people hooking up in the open space, including a pair of 80-somethings. The public escapades went down last week in the Grace Richardson Conservation Area. 6 people between the ages of 62 and 85 were arrested and charged with breach of peace and public indecency as part of a surveillance operation conducted by the Fairfield Police Department. I'm going to read a little more of this and then comment on this. Cops received reports of, quote, lewd and sexual activity going down in the conservation area and decided to launch an investigation on August 9th. So here's the deal, folks. This is the country we live in, the times that we live in. We have, I'm assuming, a meth crisis still all across America. We have still murders and robberies and bad things being committed, and certainly a lot of white-collar fraud, but cops are taking the time to do a sting operation in a park where older people, and to me, 62, I'm not that far away. That's scary. I'm going to be like, they're going to lump me in with seniors when I'm 62 years old. I guess I will be. To 85 years old, go in there for a little bit of fun. You know, these people who remember Woodstock are running into the park to have a little fling, to go play a little, because when you're people who've been married, let's say 40 or 50 years, right, or you've been widowed or divorced, and you find someone, you find a Tinder mate in this day and age, and you say, hey, why not? You bring the condom, I'll bring the preparation H. Let's go have an afternoon delight or a bit of evening fun. And it goes back to even when cops were arresting gay people in the Ramble, I guess, in Central Park or other places, where they're not bothering anybody, assumedly. You might walk by them and, oh my God, you might have a child in tow who will see, you're walking through New York, a child will see dead rats, homeless people pissing on themselves in the street, and oh no, somebody's took us going up and down behind some bushes in the distance, right? Gotta stop that. Gotta do a sting operation, spend hundreds, if not thousands of taxpayer dollars going after people having a little bit of joy and excitement in the park. And people who are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, who are freaking entitled to it. And the worst part of this, and this makes me unbelievably mad, aside from the waste of time and effort, and this idea of, a quality of life thing, they printed the offender's name, the arrestees' names in the Connecticut Post, in the newspaper. It's public record. So these are people who were arrested for snooping in the park. And I'm going to read their names, not to embarrass them, but quite the opposite. To say, you go, guys. You go, John Linartz, age 62. Daniel Dobbins, age 67. Otto D. Williams, age 62. Charles L. Ardito, age 75. Richard Butler, presumably not the lead singer of the Psychedelic Furs, age 82. And his wife, Joyce Butler, age 85. Be proud, guys. I don't know if you need the ACLU to fight this. I don't know if you're going to stand up in court and just take your fine, take your lump sum. They're not going to put you in prison over this, but they'll say, don't do it again. They should be able to do it. They should be a place in the park, just like they have nude beaches in Europe, a little place where people can go safely, throw away their used condoms when they're done. And this day and age, maybe there's a little repository, a compost heap for dental dams. I don't know. But enjoy, right? Go behind. Don't do it right flat out open on a bench, right? Don't do it by the Mr. Softy truck, especially because, who wants to be going after that and see the word softy? But go behind a tree, go behind a bush, do your thing, and cops, go find something else to do. You want to keep a park nice and pleasant for mothers and children and young people and folks who don't want to see that. Pick up trash. That's a better use of your time. Go take the stick, if nobody's committing any actual real crimes, and take garbage that not nice people throw away in the park and collect it and put it in a garbage can. You will be doing much more value on community service if you're a police officer or someone protecting the public interest and the public peace by doing that than arresting people, not just warning them, not just saying, hey, people can see you from the street, from the pathways, from the bike paths. You want to do this, either go to your car or go home, or really go to a place that you'll get all mosquito bit and do it there. No, these had to be arrested as a sting operation. So these heroic people who are getting in a little fun before the Grim Reaper call. I mean, there's a 62-year-old. He's got some years before the Grim Reaper calls, one hopes. But Daniel and Otto and Charles and John and Richard and Joyce, Viagra up to all of you guys. Yeah. Internet, and the reason they know about this is that internet searches show advertisements on a city hookup guide as Grace Richardson's base as a site for doing this sort of thing, as a meet-up spot. And if you can get your meat up, you don't need Mr. Softy. Several other locations are listed, all of which are being monitored by police. So it's great. Now, old people have to go on the dark web to find the fun places where they can go have some fun in public. Unbelievable, idiotic waste of shame, not on them, but on the Fairfield, Connecticut Police Department and the courts there, if they don't throw this out. If they don't just go, naughty, 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 go into your own backyard with a tarp and enjoy. Anyway, let's do a little bit more Greeley Crimes and Old Times. In fact, we'll do one more item and then move on to other stuff on this episode of Dave's Gone By. Motion picture star Princess Mona Darkfeather. That's what they used to call people back then. Princess Mona Darkfeather is now performing live at the Rex Theater. She is singing between each motion picture. Remember, isn't that great the way movies were back then? You'd watch a 8-minute short, there'd be singing advertisements live and just entertainment live and vaudeville and burlesque. And then you watch a 20-minute short and then some other live entertainment. And you could go get some nosh at the thing and come back for the feature film, which was probably 70 minutes long. And then another short and a little mini documentary and something from Pathé Films. And, who was that guy? Lowell Thomas, right? Lowell Thomas going around the country with his camera. And then come out of the movie theater when it was at least cooler out in the summertime at 8 o'clock at night after just having the most wonderful, wonderful time at the movies. And granted, some of the stuff I was talking about was already during the sound era, but still, Mona Darkfeather was performing between movies at the Rex Theater here in, not here, but in Greeley, Colorado. She is an adopted Indian from California. Her father had the first bank in Los Angeles, and her grandfather owned Alcatraz Island. Go figure. She is on a national tour promoting her next picture. So I'm going to, about time I'm going to Google Mona Darkfeather. She's probably born like Shirley Heimowitz, if you think about it. But anyway, I'm not Shirley Heimowitz. I'm Dave Lefkowitz, and I am the host of this program, Dave's Gone By, where we've been doing Greeley Crimes and Old Times.
Mr. Horace Greeley was no fool. I'm sure that you'll agree with me that Greeley was no fool.
What he is getting at is that Mr. Greeley was no fool.
Yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi-yi-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi,
Thank you, everybody, for being with us, staying with us for so much more of Dave's Gone By today, August 24th, 2019. It's a little after 10 o'clock already, Eastern Time, in the Daverhood with me, Dave Lefkowitz. To find out more about the program, go to davesgoneby.com, D-A-V-E-S, Dave like my name, davesgoneby.com. That is where you'll find photos of the show, information and the history of the program, as well as our archives. I mean, this was and remains an audio program. I mean, we were on terrestrial radio for our first 7 years. Oh, did you see this? Folks who live on Long Island, did you see Newsday a couple of days ago? There was an article about the radio station that we first were on in 2002 when the program started. It was on WGBB. I'm not going to give the call numbers because there's really no reason to listen to it, except that our friend Trevor Vassell is still doing a DJ there. He does a gospel radio show when they're not doing other stuff on the station. It's still kind of a lease time station. So I leased time when I first started doing the program. Then I worked there and got the time. And then I left and did a whole bunch of other things and brought Dave's Gone By to the University of Northern Colorado for a few years. And now we've discovered Facebook, and it's a podcast, video cast. I was going to call it a face cast because of Facebook. And then I looked up Facecast to make sure it's not used for something else. And there is an app that people use for naughty things called Facecast. And I know everybody's suddenly Googling it to find it now. But yeah. So we're a podcastio programmio of the stream now. But WGBB, they did an article about it because I think it celebrated some kind of anniversary. So they went to where the station first started on Merrick, Long Island, because it moved all around Merrick and then near Merrick towards Rockville Center, and then over spent a bunch of years in Babylon, where it still is now. But they went to Merrick to plant some kind of sign or flag or commemorate that it is the oldest radio station on Long Island, and feels it, and remains one of the oldest still running radio stations in America with the same call letters. I think it was Where Good Broadcasting Begins was the WGBB logo. They didn't mention Dave's Gone By in the article. Why? Could have. Didn't really mention much of anything or the programs or the people who came from there, who cut their teeth at that station. I mean, I was there when it was already sliding into the toilet. I was still sort of fishing, breathing at the top of the water as everything was being sucked down. But in the 60s and 70s, GBB was a real community radio station. People tuned in, they listened, that's where they would go for local Long Island news and issues and music. And when schools would be closing, it was a real good local station. And then it's just, also, I mean, I'm not just blaming folks who are running it. Media has changed. People's access to information has changed. And radio has, of course, changed. The station is still there. And the funny part in the article is it's nice and nostalgic, and they talk about the founding of the station. It was in literally some guy's garage in his house when he began it, I think in 1923 or something like that. So it's not quite 100 years old yet. And it moved, it changed, it morphed. And then the last paragraph, they say, well, yeah, it's still there. And now mostly they broadcast Chinese. And that's the whole thing. That paragraph is kind of a slammer. It says, taking the lid on the garbage can, going, bam. Yeah, it's still running, but it's mostly Chinese and lease time programming, I have my wife, I think Joyce wants to chime in a little bit. Joyce, you there? Yeah, well, I gotta put you on speaker. Yeah.
Even though you're on the air, I'm gonna send you a number. The battery's dead. You need to. I'm not on the AAA account, so I can't give authorization for them to come and jump the battery.
Oh.
So I'm gonna text you a number, and you're gonna have to call and put me up as an authorized person on the account because they won't come out here unless you're here, which is difficult. So. Yeah.
I will deal with this a bit later, but yeah, Joyce is trying to have the car inspected. And of course, the car battery died because it's been sitting there. Our neighbor had been starting the car every couple of weeks. But yeah, I will when I'm done doing what I'm doing here. So I'm going
to text you a number, and you got to call and put me on the account, Bubba.
You got it. Okay. All right. Okay. I'll deal with that later.
And ASAP when you're off the show at like 12. Okay.
Yeah, I will. I thought the car was starting. I thought they were starting the car every couple of weeks while we were whatever. Wonderful. Just wonderful. Okay. All right. I'll speak to you later and I'll deal with that. Just text me what you need. Okay. Bye. Bye. Life gets in the way of art, doesn't it? Because it just does. what the hell was I talking about? I was talking about that article about the station we were on. Who knows? Maybe I'll wind up back there again, as if there's any real reason to. But the world works in crazy, crazy kind of ways. It's a crazy, crazy kind of show. We do Dave's Gone By. That's what I was talking about. Find out more about all that history at davesgoneby.com and the archives. Our first, 10 years, more than that, are audio only. But we have them. Hundreds of episodes, thousands of hours of Dave's Gone By. All our interviews. We used to play a lot of music, too, back then, before we were really posting on YouTube and on Facebook, where there were rights issues in terms of being able to have music played. But we were doing that too. A lot of comedy bits, a lot of great famous and not so famous people on the show. It's all there at davesgoneby.com. We even have a separate section just for the interviews with the music and everything stripped out. Check it out. And if you want to email me, davesgoneby@aol.com. D like my name, davesgoneby@aol.com. You can drop me an email anytime. And of course, if you want to message me, you can do that right here on our Facebook page, Dave's Gone By. And we have a Twitter feed, Radio Dave 2, Radio Dave and the number 2. And I want to also remind people, if you like listening to this show, but you can't sit at the computer all day, you have places to be, you want to be in the car, remember that we're also a podcast, so you can hear older episodes by going to castbox.fm. We have about the past half a year of shows uploaded there, castbox.fm. So if you don't want to do it through Dave's Gone By, you can do it through that portal and just use your iPods or whatever people are using now to stream shows and things that they want to listen to. Anyway, you are listening to Dave's Gone By. We've got Scott and Jolinda and Chauncey and Karen and Tom and Jeffrey and so many other people watching and listening to the program. And I know Cynthia's here, my cousin. You're going to play against her because it's time for a bit of Today, Yesterday. It's a quiz that we do that has to do with the day. So today is August 24th, 2019. There have been, of course, a lot of other August 24ths over the past centuries and millennia, really. So this is a quiz. We're going to ask you to figure out, what happened on this date X amount of years ago. And we'll give you clues. Of course, we'll give you hints. It's called Today, Yesterday, and Cynthia tends to be the one to chime in first, so you gotta be her. So what I like to say is it's on the honor system. You're here to test yourself, to test your trivia. Don't Google, don't Wiki, don't FaceTime it. Just see if you can get the answers to it. That's part of the quiz. That's part of the fun of it. So anyway, if you are ready, and I believe we are, see if you have the answers to today's Today, Yesterday quiz. Are you ready? I hope you are. On this date, August 24th, 1923, Paavo Nurmi did something that took him less than a quarter of an hour to do. What did he do? Paavo Nurmi did something that took less than a quarter of an hour to do back in 1923. What did he do? Oh, I don't have our countdown xylophone. Let me find that while you're considering the answer. Do I have it? I do. Oh, excellent. Here we go. Gonna give it one more minute, or not even quite a minute, but have you guys think of the answer. If you know the name, I'll give you a clue. If you are sports oriented, you might have an answer for this one. All right, so the answer we have Cynthia did chime in with her husband, Jeff. They're saying that he crossed the channel, like the English Channel, whether it was by plane or swam, and the answer is no, that is not what he did. If you're like me and you watched that wonderful mini-series from many, many years ago from Bud Greenspan about the Olympiad, you'll remember the name Paavo Nurmi because he's one of the greatest runners of all time. And in 1923, it wasn't at the Olympics, I guess, but Paavo Nurmi ran 3 miles in 14 minutes and 11 seconds. It was a world's record and one of his 20 world records. So yeah, he's actually pretty, and when I said that name, either you knew it or you didn't, that it had something to do with running. So that's the answer. He ran 3 miles in only 14 minutes and change. All right, that was a little toughy. That was a hard one. Let's see if we can get back to Mr. Softy for question number 2 of our quiz. On August 24th, 1932, it took a little over 19 hours for this woman to break a very different record. Who and what? So this isn't 15 minutes, folks. This is 19 hours and change back in 1932 for a woman to do something pretty spectacular. What was it? I really do need some kind of thinking music. Cynthia saying, I thought he ran across the channel. That would be something. That would be pretty, Jesus would have to do something like that in the winter. Okay, gonna give it another moment or two. What happened back in 1932 that a woman did, which was amazing, and took about 19 hours. And though she wasn't doing it in a park and then was arrested by Connecticut police. Not sure what the delay here is for Q&As, but let's see. Okay. I'm gonna give it our countdown. And the answer is Cynthia is pretty good. I'm going to give it to you, Cynthia. Very nice. Cynthia says that Amelia Earhart, she flew somewhere. That is correct. Amelia Earhart flew coast to coast, so all the way across the country, and she did it back in the day in only 19 hours. That broke the record. Men had done it, but she was the first woman to do it. It was only 6 years later that she took another flight, and she and her co-pilot were never found again. But yeah, big day for Amelia Earhart, August 24th. No, it wasn't across the Atlantic, it was coast to coast. So there we go. That's our question number 2. So Cynthia's 1-1. And Jeff, how are you guys doing in our today, yesterday quiz? On August 24th, 1954, speaking of generals who became presidents, President Eisenhower signed a bill outlawing not a substance or a sexual activity. So back then, you could go into Fairfield, Connecticut and have some nookie. No, Eisenhower signed the bill outlawing not a substance or a sexual activity. What was it? In 1954. There's our question. Well, they're a little tough this time, aren't they? In our today, yesterday quiz here on Dave's Gone By. What can I possibly do for thinking music? No, it's more annoying than anything else, isn't it? What else? I could stir my Java. This is good. It sort of sounds like a clock ticking. So I'm going to give you 8 more seconds. Okay. Don't have an answer coming for that one. All right. But here's the deal. On August 24th, 1954, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed the bill outlawing not a substance or sexual activity. Oh, Cynthia did chime in with an answer. She says school segregation. Now, it took LBJ to deal with that almost a decade later, or really more than a decade later. So, nope, it wasn't segregation. Unfortunately, it'd be great if it were. He outlawed, I'll give you a hint here, the initials are CCA. It was the Communist Control Act, and it criminalized membership of or support of the Communist Party. Interesting thing is, it was never enforced, and a federal court in Arizona ruled that it was unconstitutional in 1973. But it's still apparently on the books. The Supreme Court hasn't dealt with it or touched it. So technically, it's still not legal to be part of the Communist Party. I don't know how, even though locally, state-wise, it's unconstitutional. Very, very weird. But, you know, it was the height, of course, of the Red Scare back in 1954. So yeah, toughies this week, and Cynthia's only 1 and 2 on these. I think they get a little easier as we go on our Today, Yesterday quiz. August 24th, 1989 was a heartbreaking day for a man nicknamed Charlie Hustle. What happened and to whom? Okay, bad day for someone whose nickname was Charlie Hustle. What happened to this person? Think about it. Let's wait for answer. I know there's an answer. I know. Give you an 8-second countdown. And there we go. I like this idea of the spoon thing. Yeah, okay. We have an answer, and it is correct. If you know baseball, you may not have heard of Pavo Nurmi, the runner, but everybody knows Pete Rose. Pete Rose, Charlie Hustle, was banned from baseball and remains so today because he gambled. In fact, years later, they have the slips, the booking slips. He admitted it. He did it. It's not like just a rumor. And so it's still debated whether he should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. He's been kept out. Meanwhile, there's people who've been on PDAs and steroids who are in there and probably betted and did stuff too. But Pete Rose, it's still a no-no to bet, even on your own team, to win. You just can't do it. So Pete Rose banned from baseball on this date back in 1989. So, oh my gosh, 30 years ago today. August 24th, 1992. 44 people died in Florida. How come? Yeah, we have a lot of negative questions this week. I'm sorry about that. Very depressing Today, Yesterday. But yeah, on this date, back in 1992, 44 people died in Florida. Why? Think about the date. I'll give you a little bit of a hint. It is August 24th, so think about the time of year. And nope, they weren't shot by police for having sex in a park. Something else was going on. What happened to those people in Florida? Let me give my coffee countdown in my Dave mug. And the answer is, Cynthia, you want to take a guess on the name of it, though? Very good. Cynthia got it. It was Hurricane Andrew came through. It made landfall in Florida and caused more than $25 billion in damages. And it killed 44 people also. And it was the sixth, and remains the sixth most intense hurricane ever to hit the United States. All right, how are you guys doing? I think Cynthia and Jeff are now 5 and 4. No, they couldn't be. They're 3-2. Not too shabby. So they're over 500 now. Even Pete Rose didn't manage that. Got a couple more questions for you. Today, yesterday quiz. Today, in 2011, just a couple of years ago, there was a momentous day for Apple computers. And I'll do a multiple choice on this one. What happened? What happened in 2011 at Apple computers? Was it? See if you can guess already, but before I do it, the iPhone 3 was released. The Apple iPad was released. It was the first time Apple passed Microsoft in terms of market value. Or D, none of the above. Gonna take a shot on that one. Was in 2011, was that the release of the iPhone 3 at Apple? The Apple iPad was released? Letter C, first time Apple passed Microsoft in terms of being more valuable on the market? Or D, none of the above. One. And the answer is, oh, good for you, Cynthia and Jeff. You knew that it was letter D. It was kind of a trick question there. None of the above. What happened in 2011 was the day Steve Jobs, who had been suffering from problems that would eventually kill him physically, he stepped down from the company for health issues, and that was when Tim Cook, who is the current CEO, took the job. So that was what happened today in 2011 at Apple computers. Jeff got it wrong. Oh, so Cynthia, you got it. Oh boy, good for you. So Jeff is batting 500. Cynthia is already up into the high 6s or 7s. Yay, yay. All right, here we go. Here's a bit of a happier one. Born today in 1957, this English comic actor and writer first came to the fore performing with Hugh Laurie, not Hugh Laurie, the actor Hugh Laurie of House fame, in shows like Blackadder and Jeeves and Wooster. Who is this English comic actor and writer who is celebrating a birthday today? All right. I can give a hint, I guess, on this one. It's not a half-baked answer. And you don't have to boil your brain to figure this one out. And it isn't about Tim Cook. What actor are we talking about who, when he was first starting out, was mostly known for his pairing and partnership with Hugh Laurie, who eventually went on to American fame as the lead of the TV show House? Who is the other guy? Let's get to our answer. So we have a good guess from Cynthia and Jeff about this one, and they're saying Mr. Bean, aka or the guy's name Rowan Atkinson, who of course was the star of Blackadder, which I think he co-wrote with Ben Elton, but no, it was not Rowan Atkinson or Mr. Bean. The person we're talking about is Stephen Fry, the big hulky kind of guy with that great deep plummy sort of nasal voice, does a lot of voiceover work as well. He's done a whole bunch of stuff, but back in the day, you would see him in sketch comedy, a bit of Fry and Laurie, and he would act with, he acted, of course, with Rowan Atkinson too, but he and Hugh Laurie were team partners, and then Fry, you've seen him also, he was on Bones. He was a frequent guest actor playing the psychologist who helps them out. Stephen Fry, born today in 1957, and has had some difficulties recently. I mean, he was, and he's written about this, he's bipolar and was diagnosed with that, and depression, occasionally suicidal. He's gotten better with all of that, but then he's been fighting prostate cancer for the past year or two. So hopefully he's doing very, very well, because he's a very funny and erudite man. Stephen Fry, happy birthday to you. All right, got 2 more questions on our yesterday quiz for August 24th. Let's see how we're doing. Okay, speaking of comedy teams, right? Or just teams, because we're talking about Fry and Laurie. August 24th, 1978, saw the death of this bouncy Italian-American band leader, perhaps best known for his years with his songstress wife, Keely Smith. Who are we talking about? Who passed away on this date all the way back in 1978? What musician? I'll give you a musical hint in a moment, but I want to give you a chance to think about this. Again, no fair wikiing, no fair Googling. Does anybody Bing if they don't have to? If your computer isn't automatically set to Bing, does anybody want it to be? But don't use any of those. Just see if you can figure out the trivia thing. Ooh, we have an answer. So let's see. Let's do, instead of this, I'm just a gigolo everywhere I go. La da da do da da da. Da 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 da. Okay, if you don't know already, Cynthia does. The answer is the late Louis Prima. Louis Prima passed away on August 24th, 1978, known in some circles for being the band leader behind his very talented wife, Keely Smith. They were married for a period of time, then they had a somewhat contentious divorce, and she went on to do her stuff as a solo artist. He continued as a band leader. If you're a kid, you know, or a kid at heart, you know, of course, Louis Prima for being the voice of King Louis in Jungle Book, and he gets to sing "You-hoo-hoo, how long have you? I walk like you." I mean, you just have that great, incredibly unique voice. So farewell, like almost 40 years ago, to Louis Prima, who passed away on August 24th. Okay, you're doing, and Cynthia got this one. Cynthia's probably still rolling about 700. We have our 9th and final question of our quiz on Today Yesterday here on Dave's Gone By. Are you ready? I know you are. Here we go. Joe Dante and director Alan Arkush came up with a rebellious movie musical that debuted in New York on this date in 1979. It was about a cute blonde superfan who brings a rock band to her school over the objections of her principal. Mayhem ensues. Name the movie and the band. Let's see. Can we figure this one out? I don't know if I was hoping, didn't really have a chance to do this, but I was hoping to play. Probably, nah, I didn't. Oh well. Maybe I have it here, do I? Ooh. Yeah, okay. I can play something like that. Cool. All right, do we have any answers yet? By the way, welcome to Rick and Wayne, who have just joined us in the Daverhood. Let's see. Oh no, Cynthia. You don't want to take a guess? You don't want to take a stab? I'm going to read the question again. Joe Dante, well-known director, he ended up directing Gremlins, but he co-wrote with Alan Arkush, a director, and someone out of the Roger Corman School, came up with a rebellious movie musical, debuted in New York on this date in 1979. It was all about the story told of this cute blonde super fangirl who brings a rock band to her school over the objection of her principal. Mayhem ensues. Name the movie and the band. I'm going to give you just a couple more seconds. I don't have to, well, maybe actually I can bring up the song, except it'll probably bring up a damn YouTube commercial if I do it. Let's see if I can get it. Hold on. Maybe I can do it, and I'll just pop the, because that'd be a really good way to get out of the segment anyway. Hold on. Give me a mo. And get the commercial out of the way, of course. Damn, I'm skipping the bloody ad. Here we go. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. All right. Well, nobody's going to take us up on this one. So why don't I play a little bit of the song, and then you'll know the title of the movie. Joey, of course, Dee Dee, Marty, and the gang, the Ramones, was the band. The name of the film, name of the title track, Rock and Roll High School from Ramones. That is what opened in New York on this date exactly 40 years, 89, 99, 09, 90, yeah, 40 years ago today. Everybody remember the cute blonde I was talking about? PJ Souls, remember her? She was also in Halloween and in Stripes. She was kind of like everybody's girl next door who's more gorgeous than any girl next door. And then she retired and had some kids and stuff. But she was like the it girl of the moment. From that sort of made her name. The budget on Rock and Roll High School, $200,000, which I guess was a lot in 1979 for a low budget film coming out of, I think Roger Corman was executive producer on that. But Rock and Roll High School. We are rocking around the clock here on Dave's Gone By. So from rock and roll music in our Today Yesterday quiz, which I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you did pretty well on. I think Cynthia and John settled at about 600 something. That's a winning percentage. That's pretty darn good, guys. Well, we move from rock and roll music to show tune kind of music because we're on to our next segment, which deals with the Rialto. I've been a theater critic and playwright and actor and director and theater journalist for all these years. I love talking about the theater and talking about Broadway. I know this is Tony's favorite segment of the show that he listens to every week. So keep it here for Inside Broadway. Inside Broadway, a look at theater on and off Broadway and beyond. Brought to you by Total Theater and Performing Arts Insider. Curtain going up. Inside Broadway we go every Saturday here on the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz. Is about 20 to 11, and coming up a little later in the show, I'm not too far from now, Rabbi Saul will be talking to Israeli musician David Broza. Plus we have our Colorado limerick of the damned and our story time with more of Why Fish Fart. But we have, yes we do, we now go into our Broadway segment where I get to talk about something that excites me, Broadway news and reviews. For example, I want to let you know that this is your last chance to catch on Broadway the very acclaimed show, What the Constitution Means to Me. It opened back in March. It was supposed to close a couple of weeks ago, but audiences really like it. It did very well with the critics. It was Tony nominated as well, and it had a good shot at even Best Play. It's at the Helen Hayes Theater, and you have only 3 more chances to catch it. The matinee today, tonight, and then tomorrow's matinee. Heidi Schreck conceived the show and stars in it, playing herself, essentially. It's an investigation into what the Constitution of the United States means to her and to women of her generation and also of the younger generation. She put herself through school by winning debates about the U.S. Constitution that were put up in like BFW halls. And so she loves the Constitution, she loves the idea of it, but have we outgrown it? Is it time to scrap the Constitution and make one that is more equitable to the different races and genders and ethnicities that we have? Does it really still work? Are there parts that we should keep? It's all in there. And she also tells her autobiographical story in the show. I had some issues with the show, but it's definitely worth seeing. You can catch it at the Helen Hayes Theater, Oliver Butler directing, but you have only until tomorrow to see What the Constitution Means to Me, although it has been filmed. I'm not sure for what outlet, whether it's Netflix or somewhere else, but at least they've got it on film, What the Constitution Means to Me. Bit of a rumor, we're gonna get horrific here for a moment because they're adapting The Shining, the Stephen King novel that was turned, of course, into a Stanley Kubrick film. Now they're turning it into a play. Simon Stevens is doing it. He's the guy who did the Curious Case of the Dog in the Nighttime. So he has some experience in making something very visual and theatrical that you figure, how are they gonna do that? Well, he did. He took an autistic kid's world and through lighting design and sound design, turned it into a theatrical piece, even though it was full of narration. Let's see what he does with Stephen King's The Shining, especially since Ivo Van Hove, that wunderkind, auteur, enfant terrible director, is going to be directing it. It's all about this writer, of course, who unravels in an isolated hotel. They're going to debut the show in London, and then if all goes well, they'll be targeting Broadway with The Shining, still a couple of years away. I want to let you know that coming in, there's no business like snow business. Yes, coming back to Broadway for a special limited run during the holiday season from November up through very early January. It's the return of the clown show Slava's Snow Show with Slava Polyunin, who is a guy from Moscow, and he did it off-Broadway, and the critics really raved. They brought it to Broadway a few years back, it's more than a decade ago, in fact, and now it's going to be stopping at the Stephen Sondheim Theater on Broadway once again. And it's a very surreal show with all these different scenes involving balloons and then swimming with sharks, as it were, to a giant snowstorm at the end. Like, it's quite visually amazing. I have to say, I'll be honest with you, I saw the production off-Broadway when it played at the Union Square Theater, I think in 2006, 2007, and hated most of it. I was bored out of my mind. I thought, this is a clown show, should be a lot funnier than it is. And I was just sitting there, bored, looking at my watch, except for one scene that takes place, I mean, it doesn't take, there isn't a big set design. There's stuff that, there are set elements that happen, but that takes place on a subway platform and involves just the clown and a coat rack with clothing on it. And I'm sitting there, bored through the whole show, and they get to that scene, and I was sobbing. So I kind of want to see this again. I want to see if maybe I've changed, if I missed what all the other critics were saying about the show that they loved and that audiences flocked to, both off and on Broadway. Maybe it was just me. But Slava's Snow Show, it's coming back from mid-November to early January. It'll be at the Stephen Sondheim Theater, where Beautiful, the Carole King musical, will be closing in a few weeks. Something that was on Broadway, in fact, started off Broadway, came to Broadway and did really well and was very critically acclaimed, is coming back. The musical Caroline or Change, which features a book by Tony Kushner, the Angels in America guy, music by Janine Tesori, who wrote Violet, is directed by Michael Longhurst, and it's going to be at the Roundabout. So they're reviving this very, very well-received show. It's all about a housekeeper for a Louisiana family, a Jewish Louisiana family, back in the day. And it's not one of these, thank goodness, in a way, not one of these giant, loud, spectacle musicals, crazy musicals. It's a family thing. It's about the family dynamics of this housekeeper and her kids, or I think just as a daughter, and this Jewish woman and her husband, and dealing with their son, and the times that they're in, and what's going on in 1960s, I think it is, the South. And so Caroline or Change coming back to Broadway. It'll be opening April 7th, 2020 at the Roundabout's Studio 54 Theater. So if you haven't seen it, it's not the most exciting musical in the world, but it's a serious piece of work and worth seeing, and the Roundabout doing it as part of this season. Also, the Roundabout announced another play that it's bringing in this season. This one they're doing in their American Airlines Theater on West 42nd Street. They're reviving the 1981 drama by Charles Fuller. I think it won the Pulitzer Prize. Not sure about that. It's a soldier's play. Remember that one? And they made it into a soldier story on film. But Kenny Leon, who directed American Son last season, they're bringing back a soldier's play. If you remember this story, it takes place on an army base, a black army base. And there's been a murder committed of the commanding officer. So a black investigator is sent to figure out what the hell happened and why. The cast on the show, pretty cool. Blair Underwood, I'm sure you remember him from LA Law, and he was on Broadway in the revival of A Streetcar Named Desire just a couple of years ago. And David Alan Grier, whom, of course, you remember for the TV show In Living Color, and he was on Broadway twice Tony nominated for The First, which was a musical about Jackie Robinson, and the David Mamet play Race. So yeah, a soldier's play is coming back to Broadway. It'll be opening in January at the Roundabout's American Airlines Theater. How do you keep all this stuff in your head? How do I just have this? I know this because I'm so smart and so connected to the theater? No, I need all this information at my fingertips, just like you do. And I get it from this publication, Performing Arts Insider, the Bible of Broadway, since 1944. Every page has information about every show on, off, and off Broadway. It's been going on since 1944. And so this is the place that the entertainment industry turns to find out when shows are opening, starting previews, or closing, what casts are going into things, how to contact the actors, the directors, the designers, the producers, the press agents, every single page of Performing Arts Insider. So find out more by going to performingartsinsider.com. It is the Bible of Broadway. And I want to remind you also that Total Theater puts out Performing Arts Insider. TotalTheater.com is a free website of theater news and information. And this is, it's a free website of reviews of Broadway, off-Broadway regional theater, institutional theaters, festivals as well. All you got to do is just go to the website, TotalTheater.com, for free. Surf around for thousands of critiques of shows, probably somewhere where you live or nearby, and also articles and interviews involving theater all over the world. TotalTheater.com. Do give it a look. And let's see what else we want to do on Inside Broadway. Another show was announced for Broadway. It's called Flying Over Sunset, and it's a musical about three very disparate characters. Aldous Huxley, the writer, Claire Booth Luce, she was a diplomat, and Cary Grant, the actor, of course. Flying Over Sunset is a musical about the three of them, all of whom admitted to, back in the day, taking and trying LSD. And here in this tuner, they meet and go through a kind of psychedelic experience together. Odd idea for a play, but when you hear the people involved, you mean like, I'm going to check this out, because it's written by James Lapine. Now, this is the guy who wrote the book for one of Sondheim's masterpieces, Sunday in the Park with George, and Tom Kitt, who wrote the music for Next to Normal. He's doing the music here, and Michael Corey, who wrote the lyrics for Grey Gardens, is doing the lyrics. So it's a powerhouse creative team for this show, Flying Over Sunset, that James Lapine will also direct. He tends to direct his own work. And the Vivian Beaumont Theater is where it will land, because it's a Lincoln Center production. It will be opening April 16th this season on Broadway. So, and they've announced even a couple of members of the cast. Carmen Cusack, who was in that Steve Martin and Edie Brickell show Bright Star. She is starring in the show alongside Harry Haddon Payton, who was just in My Fair Lady on Broadway playing Higgins. So yeah, Flying Over Sunset coming to Broadway this coming April. All right, well, I mentioned musicals that are loud and brash and crazy and in your face and just all over the place. I saw one this week. I saw it off Broadway at City Center over on 55th Street in Manhattan. I actually have I had the program to share with you. Give me a moment. I had it ready. Oh, here we go. So when you go into the theater, you're not even handed a stage bill or a playbill. They give you this to get you in the mood. This clever idea for a playbill of something that's happening in futuristic dystopian culture times, and yet it's sort of like it skips about 50 years or so. So you get from the 1950s feel, and it goes immediately to like 2050 in terms of the times that you feel that you're in when watching the musical. And I just held up that thing of Bad Outta Hell, based on the Meatloaf album and its sequel, Bad Outta Hell 2, and Jim Steinman, who actually, we're coming to you from Hewlett, Long Island. Jim Steinman is a Hewlett person. He grew up here and he went to Hewlett High School. So he's one of the alums, and they had an enormous hit, of course, with Bad Outta Hell as an album. It was a mega platinum record for Meatloaf and for Steinman. Sorry for bouncing back and forth here, but I want to hang on to my notes. So yeah, they turned it into a musical. They were thinking of bringing it to Broadway a few years back, never quite made it, but it's been touring and making some good money. So they finally brought it to New York, not quite to Broadway, but to City Center. Jay Scheib is directing it. One of the reasons they brought it in is that it's really popular in London. It actually won the 2017 Evening Standard Award for Best Musical. Bad Outta Hell won Best Musical. It's certainly visually interesting and arresting. It's got this very, God, I don't even know how to start to describe it, but it's got several tiers where certain things happen when they're not, right downstage in front of us. And also a video camera going pretty much at all times, sometimes showing previously recorded stuff. And what's that noise? You hear that? I think they're working on the house outside. Anyway, and other times they're actually doing live video stuff where you're watching something going on upstairs, but there's a screen in front of you showing the action. And what is the action of Bad Outta Hell? The hell is that noise? Oh yeah, they're just doing work outside. Anyway, apologies. So, in Bad Outta Hell, what happens is a dystopian future. And you've got these people who are almost like vampires in a weird way. They don't have to kill to stay young. They just stay young. They're 18 forever. A whole big weird Peter Pan theme going on there. And they are seen as the outcasts, the dregs of society by the guy who apparently runs the town. He and his wife, they're still together, but they haven't been in love or anything for many, many years. They have a daughter who is they're overprotective of, especially the father is, and won't let her go out and won't let her associate with these Peter Pan-like creatures. So, of course, that's exactly what she does, and she falls in love with the leader of that pack. And there's her whole basic story, except it widens out to more of a quadrangle, since there's a gay-ish member of that outcast society who's also in love with the leader of the outcasts. His name is Strat. Okay, there you go. That's her whole story that they stretch, I swear to you, to 2 hours and 45 minutes. Because I want to get all the songs in, and with all the choruses. And let me tell you, some of it is fun, and some of it you're sitting there with a goofy smile on your face going, whoa, like they actually do Paradise by the Dashboard Light, and they bring it back, because a lot of the show is in this weird way serious, like Hunger Games-ish serious, and there is a death, and there's us versus them, and it's treated like epic melodrama, and the other parts are really spoopy and determinedly silly and satirical and dumb. And of course, those are the ones I appreciate more, including there's a scene when the father and the mother, they're remembering what their romance was like back when it was hot, and back when they wore leather jackets together and would go out and park in the car, and will he get to first base? Will he get to second base, third base? So they do Paradise by the Dashboard Light, and you're seeing on the screen kind of vaguely sexual stuff intercut with baseball, like 1950s baseball players sliding into base, and then there's a a person in on stage in an umpire's uniform calling out and safe. It's the weirdest, funniest, goofiest thing. And when you're watching that scene, you think, oh my gosh, if the whole show's going to be like this, I'm going to really get into it. It's going to be just zany fun. I wish it weren't so bloody loud. It's a rock musical, no question. But still, I'm sitting there now. I'm mostly deaf in this ear. So I was having to sit there like this through the big, boisterous rock numbers and be perfectly comfortable. This they're like, ah! And this ear, it's all right. But boy, there's no reason for it because the arrangements are very, very nice. There's a lot of stuff going on musically when they're doing the songs, but it's all one big wash of loudness and noise in this concert. I would like to hear some of those guitar riffs, some of the keyboard stuff that they were doing, and it gets unfortunately lost. What doesn't get lost is the voices, or are the voices, of the actors, which are pretty terrific. You've got Carmen Cusack. Oh, no, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm sorry. You've got Andrew Polek playing Strat, and if you could put a face on Wild Meth, it's his character. It's him in this role. He sings really well. The girl, she's very, very pretty. A woman named Christina Bennington is playing Raven. She's the daughter who falls in love with Strat. And boy, talk about voices. Bradley Dean and Lena Hall, you remember her from Hedwig and the Angry Inch. They just tear the roof off with their songs. They're real pros. And it's a pleasure to hear them when you're not going like, I hear you, stop it, you know? What else? Actually, I'm not a Meatloaf fan, not a big Gene Steinman fan. I kind of know the songs from the radio. Some of the songs are so long on the records, I turn them off when they're on the radio. It is a reminder that the feel of the show is not only based in the 1950s, but it has a 1950s kind of, oh, did I just miss a, no, I didn't, okay. The feel of the show and the music is very 50s based, kind of like the Rocky Horror thing that Meatloaf was in. You figure, oh, it's loud and punky and garage rock and stuff, but really the basis of it is 50s rock and roll, which is another reason they should lower the volume, because people my age and a bit older will really get into it. They were really, oh yeah, I remember this song. I like the feel of this song, even if I don't know it. So lower the volume, please, and God, make it shorter. It's a very long intermission. The intermission is longer than some Harold Pinter plays. But still, if they were to trim the intermission by 10 minutes and cut the second act, which is ballad after ballad after ballad, they could bring this in about 2 hours and 10 minutes. It'd be a lot more fun. I'm going to give it 2.5 stars as it is. I cannot in good conscience recommend this show. And the book is just absolutely batshit crazy. Batshit out of hell crazy. So let's hear a little bit of Bat Out of Hell while we hope and wait for, let's make sure that, because we're going to be, I'm fingers crossed, going to be talking to, I think we have our caller. Dave's gone by. Do we have our guest? Oh, wonderful. Let me put you on hold for just a moment as we go into that segment. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, we do have our special guest. Let's first of all hear, as we move out of Inside Broadway and talking about Bat Out of Hell, here's a bit of, yes indeed, Meatloaf and Paradise. Oh, shalom, my friends. That's one kind of music. Here is another. Let's listen to the voice, the sound, the music of David Broza.
האישה שאיתי אינה מתעקשת לרחוץ את גופה בבריכה מקודשת. היא לא בשבילך, אך היא ממלמלת, ואבא אומר שרזה היא כמו שלט. אבל היא אמיתית יותר מכולנו, זו אהבה כל הזמנים לפני שנולדנו, רק אני יודע.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with your computers, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Hebrew, and that is being spoken by our very talented guest in the Daverhood today. He has been making music for more than 40 years in Hebrew and in English, and also pop and folk and rock music as well. He is going to be appearing on Friday, Shabbos Eve, September 6th at the Rubin Museum in Manhattan. He's got bunches of albums out, including titles like Stolen Kiss, Stone Doors, Third Language, The Golden Ring, and we'll talk about this one, East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem. Won't you welcome to the Daverhood, David Broza. Shalom, David.
Wow. What are you on this morning?
Oh, I'm on coffee and a little bit of Escalade, basically. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to have to ask you to speak up just a little bit to make sure that, because I know you're a soft-spoken, sexy kind of guy, but we want everybody to hear you, and then we'll... there you go, holla, because you're Jewish. Come on, Jews are loud and annoying. You have to be that way. There you go. Now, you were born in Haifa, so how did you, but you weren't raised necessarily all in Israel. You went to England and Spain. What was the journey for you there?
I was born in Haifa. I was raised in Tel Aviv and in Madrid, Spain. There was a moment where I went to boarding school in England for about a year and a half. And then back to Israel, did my regular, had the mandatory military service. After that, I started my music career. And in 1984, I moved to the States and started touring this country and kept, one foot in the States and one foot in Israel, always going back and forth, maintaining my relationship with my audience. And having grown up in Madrid, of course, I also sing in Spanish. So I have a career of three audiences: the Hebrew, the English speaking, and the Spanish.
Yeah. And you keep, as you said, one foot in Israel, one foot here, and I think you dip a toe in New Jersey, which is rather tragic. But
yes, it was a fantastic time. As tragic as it may sound on paper, and all the fantasies of Jersey being like the other side of heaven, but it isn't. It was fantastic, and it was my base for about 17 years while I learned this country, and I wrote music, and I recorded 6 albums in the U.S., and all based on American poetry. So I really needed a base in the New York area, and while I traveled everywhere, there was the Deep South, or there was the Bible Belt, or there was Texas or West, North, everywhere. It was fantastic.
Now, you mentioned the Bible Belt because you do songs in Hebrew, and there's a whole realm of like Hasidic pop where all the lyrics have to be just out of the Bible stuff. But you don't do that. You write poetry in Hebrew, but it can be secular stuff. The topics are not biblical.
I am totally secular. I have a lot of respect for the Bible and for the religious, pious Jew and the way of life of a religious person, no matter whether he's a Jew or a Christian or a Muslim. But I'm a totally secular. I play music. This is basically my religion.
Yes.
And my way of life rather than religion. I work.
I'm sorry? Oh, no.
Poets in Spain, Spanish poets in America. I've worked with numerous poets, as well as just working off poetry that I find in books. And so that was my actually my way of getting introduced to America, because you pick a book of a poet, you don't know where he's from. Finally, when you want to connect with his whereabouts, where he wrote from, where his inspiration is, then you end up in Nogales in Arizona, or you end up in Seattle, or you end up in the Northeast, or in the Midwest, in Evansville, Indiana. And so this was a great way for me to connect with the culture of this country through its language, and then get closer to the writers, and therefore meet also the habitat where they live and their whereabouts and the culture that they live in. And of course, total fascination and admiration for what goes on, what has come out of American culture worldwide. So it's been my inspiration, I guess, for my entire life.
Well, you mentioned Nogales. Is that where you twice ran into, and I guess had a very quick but serious friendship with Townes Van Zandt?
No, Van Zandt I actually met in Houston, Texas.
Oh.
He's from Fort Worth, but I met him in Houston, Texas, where I was introduced to him through a mutual friend. In Nogales, I worked with an incredible, he's the laureate poet of Arizona, Alberto Rios.
Oh.
Who was half Mexican, half Anglo. So and he's raised in Arizona and he teaches there. But with Townes Van Zandt, which was the most fantastic experience, was David Amram, who was a very prominent American musician. He's in his late 80s already.
Yeah.
But he gave birth to the Beat generation. He's the first beatnik, Jack Kerouac, and Allen Ginsberg and all those. And he discovered me playing in some festival and thought that I should meet Townes Van Zandt, and he set up that meeting in a mutual concert that we gave in Houston, Texas, at the Main Street Theater. And that's where our little romance started, which was very short because about 2-3 years into it, he died.
Yeah.
And so in his death, I was given notice that he had willed to me verbally his unpublished poetry. And so that took some contact, some time in retrieving and getting it, but it ended up with me dedicating an album to Townes Van Zandt, the unpublished poetry. It's called Night Talk. Beautiful album.
Well, what do you remember about the conversation? Because obviously they made a lasting impression on both of you if he was going to give you his poetry to save. So what do you remember about him?
Well, our first and only real meaningful meeting was a mutual concert where also David Amram played, and Lynn Below, another friend who's a singer-songwriter from Texas, were with us. But basically it was tuning performers. Like he'd play a song and I'd play a song, he'd play a song and each of us gave a little bit of background because he knew nothing about me. Of course, I knew about him. I knew who he was and what great talent he was, but I never met him. So we were impressing each other. And I started off with a poem by I did a Hebrew blues, that got him.
A Hebrews, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Hebrews, and he shot out of his seat because nobody prepared him to what kind of a performer and what languages I sing in. So that threw him out. And then I continued with Federico Garcia Lorca's Spanish poem, and that totally got him emotional. And then when I ended up with Elizabeth Bishop poem, very well-known American poet, then he wrote down his number in the middle of the show and gave it to me. He says, "Call me, I got some poetry as well." So it started this romance, and we met a couple more times, but we didn't quite get to sit together and share or exchange improvised melodies and stuff. But we were in each other's minds, and literally a week or so before he died, we had this conversation with a mutual friend, Linda Lowe, and he told me, "Listen, if anything ever happens, I don't know, I just want to make sure that my poetry gets to Broza." And that's what happened.
Now, speaking of people, well-known people that you've appeared with, I don't know if you even did anything more than shake hands with these people, but I am curious, you at least shared the stage with both Bob Dylan and Van Morrison. Do you have any memory, any stories, anything about those times?
Well, yeah, of course, with Bob Dylan, we did a double bill in a stadium in the south of Israel. As a matter of fact, I got the call while I was in Evansville, Indiana, working with some poets, and the promoter called me and said, "Look, I need you in Israel next week because we got a show, we got to sell more tickets." So I went down there, I flew out, and we shared the stage. And the deal was with the promoters that nobody should get anywhere closer than 100 yards to Bob Dylan. So I guess everybody respected it, and I could, I had to do my thing. I had to play an hour plus. And when I got off stage, when I was preparing the stage for him to get on, suddenly I feel somebody next to me, and I look, and it's Bob Dylan. So he says to me, "Man, you play this guitar like a machine gun." And that stayed like in my mind. Besides, the conversation continued for a bit, but that was like a phrase that I needed to like really write down and
That should be on your website. You need to put that on like the homepage of davidbroza.net. I mean, that should be plays guitar like a machine gun, Bob Dylan. Come on, that's pretty neat.
So yeah, and so we actually never met again. But I had shows also with Sting, with Paul Simon, and of course with Van Morrison was in Madrid. These are great experiences, and just to share the same audience and play in the same situations and have the same audience appreciate what I do when I'm actually the biggest fan of these artists gave some kind of credentials to my art, I guess.
Well, but the thing is, did you have any personal interactions with Sting or Paul Simon or Van Morrison?
Well, it's funny because Paul Simon, after our show, called his then who became his manager, but he was his PR person at Caress, and made sure that they keep in touch with me and work with me. And it was the same when I worked with Sting, that he got me in touch with FBI, with his booking agency, and they actually signed me on to my American tours. It was all great, really great experiences. We never got to sit down again and share bread or anything, but those moments were cherished, and
sure.
I keep them as part of my little moments of happiness and bliss.
Absolutely. Now, you come on some level from a musical family. Your mom was an early Israeli folk singer, yeah?
Yeah, she was Israel's first folk singer, the guitar. Her name was Sharona Aaron, and she had records selling all over the world. Of course, it was a new country. She was recording in 1948 until 1953, and made several albums, and they were huge successes, actually, overseas, besides Israel. Great Britain and South Africa and all the Anglo-Saxon countries, United States. There was most, I guess, all the folk fans from Pete Seeger to Odetta. Everybody wanted to share stage with her, to meet with her, and to learn a little bit about this new upcoming country, which was basically a concept at that time. Although it had a flag and had a national anthem, but it was so young. It was like we're talking about 3 years, 4 years into the country's existence. So it was an enigma, and everybody wanted to see what it was for real. So a meeting with my mother would be always somewhat of a novelty. So when these artists traveled to Israel, it was these platters, it was actors like Sidney Poitier or Harry Belafonte, they would actually come to the house. And so I remember as a child being 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, that these are the personalities that would once in a while come to the house and have amazing nights of music. It was very inspiring.
Well, do you remember stories that your mother would have told you about being there for the birth of it? Because she was obviously there before even 1948. Did she any amazing tales or scary ones or things that you especially remember of living in Israel back then?
She was born in what was then Palestine in 1927, but in Tel Aviv.
Right.
Her mother was born in Daverhood, outside of Tel Aviv. So, but whenever she spoke of those times, it all seemed like it was one cloud of euphoric cloud. I mean, everybody was in the euphoria. It wasn't only many years later did it sink in that upon the birth of Israel, there were other stories that, for example, she had Palestinian friends until 1948 that then suddenly disappeared. She never understood where they went. They were driven out, or they were forced out in some ways, or just frightened and left. They left the area and went to that you live in Ramallah or in London or in other countries, and only many, many years later was she able to piece everything together and to catch up with these friends. But that moment of the birth of Israel for everybody was euphoric. It was unreal. It was until today, when you think of it, these things don't happen. It happened to Israel. It's very rare.
Yeah, well, yeah, but let's get into it, because you are a real peacenik, and I use that word not in any kind of a negative way. You're very much, you had an album called East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem. You're very much into trying to get the two sides together. But first of all, they've been trying for 70-something years now. What the hell can possibly work?
Oh, everything will work. It's a matter of perseverance. It's a matter of trust. It's a matter of maintaining that goal as your ultimate goal, which I think everybody does. And it's mostly patience. You can't make everything work in the course of one generation or two or three. This could take, 7 years is obviously not enough. We'll have to wait. We'll wait it out. But I can tell you that miraculous things do happen in the grassroots level, which is where I thrive in working with small groups of Israelis and Palestinians, with youth, bringing musicians together.
I'm sorry, that has been going on for decades. Orchestras get together, they have basketball, the youth. Of course, that always happens. That happens in neighborhoods where gang fighting, like in West Side Story, and there are little pockets of, a miraculous thing happened. Everybody sat down for a meal and we all got along. That is not the same as having a country where terrorism vanishes and everybody really does get along economically and socially. It's just, those are little pockets of light in a tunnel.
No, these are not pockets. These are seeds. You're planting seeds in every one of these experiences, and you cannot assume that by having dinner one time or hang out one time is going to work. If you had a good time, make sure you meet again in 10 days. Just keep it going. You got to have perseverance, tenacity, faith, and most of all, you've got to really want this to happen. And there's no other way of looking at it. You cannot live by the sword generation upon generation upon generation. You're going to have to, at some point, succumb to the idea that there's got to be a compromise and something will work out.
What is the compromise? Well, do you see Israel as a purely Jewish state, a homeland?
Well, if we go the way we're going, which is basically bringing in, taking control of the Palestinian Authority with all its 2.5 million inhabitants, then you're going to end up having 50% of Israel. If you're talking about Jewish, it's not just about that point of view. Then you're becoming almost a minority in your own country. So you've got to establish very, very clear borders and make sure that that both sides understand each other and come to terms. And it's going to happen. It's not something that's going to be left without attending to it. Even though in these days it seems that the zealots are getting their way. And I can tell you one thing, that you cannot, that being extreme is not going to bring you into the majority. Being extreme maintains the extreme, whether you're left or right, it doesn't matter. You've always got to find the liberal way in the middle, where everybody's brought in the majority, and then they make the rule. The public has to actually act upon it, and when the public isn't acting upon it, then then politics take you wherever they want to take you. So we got to work. I believe in the grassroots, educating and planting the seeds, and not doing something just one time, but continuing. I did this for 40 years. I come from a household where we all believed that my grandfather instilled it in me, and he founded a village called the Shalom, Wahat al-Salam, Oasis of Peace, which is an amazing and probably the only village of its kind in the world where Israel and two enemies, basically, sworn enemies like the Israelis and the Palestinians, live together, and they write the protocol on conflict resolution.
But that's the thing. Can you see Israel being not a two-state solution, but a shared state solution? Which one do you go for?
What's the third state?
No, a shared state.
Oh, sure. No, I don't. Right now we're having I think a fantastic surge of how do you say that the Arab population of Israel, which comprises of 25% give it another 7 years, and we'll be in an amazing place.
All of I mean, but then again, it lurches forward and then it goes back. It goes forward. I mean, we should have been in this place back in the 1970s when, Sadat and Begin were making a deal with Egypt, and that's held.
Well, you could say the same about the Irish. They could have resolved their problems 300 years ago. Didn't it? And that's between Protestants and Catholics. So forget it. And these issues have to be dealt with in the right way at the right time. Unfortunately, there's a lot of blood on the way, and a lot of hard feelings, and a lot of people are getting hurt, and we lose trust, and then all over again. If you just read the Bible as a form of a story, then you understand that there's ups and downs, and there will be moments when you have two generations, 40 years, that they'll be quiet, and they'll be peaceful. Who knows if it's not going to erupt again at some point.
Well, let me ask you, speaking of hardships and people getting hurt, going to go a whole different direction here. You spent almost a year recuperating from a terrible car accident. Did you feel you'd never play music again, or was that what got you through it? Because you hoped and you expected, I'm going to play music again no matter what. How did you get through being almost paralyzed?
I actually don't know. My sheer faith and I guess my survival mode, which I think every person has within himself. I was told I would not play again. I was paralyzed in one arm, and the rest of my upper body was in shambles. And that took a year. There was a doctor who actually predicted quietly, whispered into my ear, listen, if you're patient, there might be a possibility that your nerves will rebuild themselves. And if I count it right with a millimeter a day, that the nerve rebuilds itself, then if we count 355 days based on your injury, then you might be able to show signs to be able to play in 355 days. That's basically a year. And the miracle happened on the 355th day. It actually connected. The nerves connected, and it was unreal. And of course, within weeks, I was on stage and performing again. While I was at it and uncertain, I did have, although I had a lung that collapsed, so I couldn't sing immediately, but in a few months, I was able to sing. So I kind of started thinking to myself, okay, I can walk, I can sing. If I can't play, then I'll find other ways. So I kept on looking at the half-filled glass, and the half-filled cup. So I guess life is, for me, is through positive motivation. I don't let myself fall into the dark pits of despair and unhappiness. I tried.
Yeah, an optimistic Jew. The first one I've ever met. It's astonishing to hear. But it's worked for you. By the way, I want to remind people that we are talking with the delightful and talented David Broza, whom you can all see him on Friday, September 6th at the Rubin Museum of Art in Manhattan. And of course, you're going to want to go get his albums, which you can find out about at his website, David Broza, B-R-O, what, yeah. .net.
Many other shows planned up. I have in Lefkowitz Theater up in Mamaroneck on September 28th.
Oh, the Emmeline Theater, or where?
Huh?
The Emmeline Theater in Mamaroneck?
Yeah, and what's the beauty of this show, I just recommend to anybody who hasn't seen me, or anybody who has seen me, is that I'm now playing with a New York-based Cuban trio, which I call Trio Havana, and basically we play all my music. A lot of it in Hebrew, some Spanish. It's a great opportunity for me to share the stage with Spanish speakers, and of course some of my American stuff. But all of it is Cuban arrangements. It's like it really is what they play as traditional Cuban Afro-Cubano. It's just a beautiful, great experience for me. And
it's like borscht and beans.
Huh?
And it's like mixing borscht and beans. It sounds wonderful. Just saying. Just saying. One of the things that's kind of interesting is you started basically 40 years ago this year, and that was an era of, in terms of American music, disco and punk. Did you feel a little bit out of place in what was going on commercially in American music, doing the folk stuff that you do?
Well, I was in Israel, first of all.
Yeah.
I didn't know one day make it to America, but I was in Israel. 1977 is actually when I started. And I was doing folk rock, and to me that was what my passion
Well, wait, I have to ask. Have you ever played with or do you know Svika Pick?
I didn't play with it, but we are obviously colleagues, and our careers basically parallel each other. He's a huge pop songwriter, huge.
And what about the band Poogie or Kaderek? I think. Yeah.
Well, they don't exist anymore, but once in a while they do get together and do a comeback. And I know all of them, and some of them I've played with and sung with. I actually had a band that I was with, and Kitty Go, who was the vocalist of Poogie, which is called Kaveret, we were the band. It's like Rabbi, Yemi Esther, and myself. So it was beautiful. It was called The 16 Sheep. One of those beautiful children's albums ever, and we toured together, of course.
The 16 Sheep?
1978.
Yeah. Wow. Let me ask you also, in terms of other people's music, or maybe it's your own. We all have egos. Oh, shalom again, my friends. This is Rabbi Sal Solomon with a bit more of our wonderful conversation with the talented and delightful David Broza, who, as he said, not only, if you can't get to see him on September 6th at the Rubin Museum of Art, remember he'll be at the Emmeline Theater in Mamaroneck, New York, coming up in a couple of weeks, is it?
Yeah, on September 28th.
September 28th. I missed that part. And where else locally?
More concerts, there's City Winery, it's a great place in Philadelphia. It's just opening now, so it's a fantastic venue, and I'll be there November 17th, I believe, and later on in December. There's a whole bunch of shows.
Oh, wonderful. Now, let me also
You can see all the shows on davidbroza.net on the website.
Absolutely, davidbroza.net. Let me ask, you have, since you started in the late 1970s and you've been on American labels, you even got an album, I think, on Columbia Records at one point. Do you miss the era of the big labels and the promotion and stuff, or are you happier in this much more, I don't want to say dissipated, but dislocated era of you get an album together however you can and release it however you can and do it that way?
Well, I can say that there's a lot of merit to working with an organization that provides you in-house everything. Is promotion, in-house artists and repertoire, people who work along with you to really maximize the potential of a product. And now I've been working as a label myself since 1993 for a long time, way before the digital age.
Right.
But today you're basically exploring every possible way, and every day you learn of new venues, new ways to market things. The one thing about today, what's difficult for an artist, it's very, very costly. I mean, you can work, in a guerrilla way, which is most of us work that way, meaning that we just invent our own marketing directions. But when you have a team with you, it's much more effective. And when you can afford, as today, every post that you put on Instagram, on Facebook, you have to actually back it up with funds, which means that it can end up costing thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to promote a product. But I can't walk around saying it was better then. All I can say is now it's more challenging, and it keeps you on the edge. You got to keep looking at what goes, what comes your way, and find the right one, and then you can't sleep. You just got to keep all the time on edge.
Well, I'm someone, trust me, if you know my personality, you know I'm on edge all the time. But as someone who's been making music for 40-something years and writing your own songs and music, do you ever dry up or have the fear of drying up, or at some point a new melody comes to you? Or you'll read a poem and you'll start playing with it with a guitar or something, and there's never that moment of all the songs in the world have been written. There's nothing new I can add. All the chord progressions have been done. I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, you do get into that lull, in that moment where you feel completely drained and nothing to offer. But as I know it, give yourself another moment and suddenly everything will change. So, everything is so dynamic that until your last breath, you're going to be searching. And artists, especially, that we live in an certain age, even more certain age today, where you can work a whole year on an album and then release it digitally, and within minutes it's criticized and sometimes flushed down. We live under a lot of stress because of the critical aspect of our work. So for me, I'm lucky that I have a lot of, I guess, a discipline that allows for me to sit down and try to write new music. But I do have to have an idea of which direction I want to go to in order for me to be able to produce. So I had in 2010, I decided to write my own lyrics entirely, not collaborate with other poets or work on poetry. So I sat and I thought it's not going to happen, and then finally suddenly I had this inspirational 2 weeks in which I wrote fantastic songs and created a new album. And then the East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem project, which started with one song, but I really didn't have a direction. But since I was working in East Jerusalem for so many years, the idea of being able to produce an album there that would be actually in English and would be able to communicate with the world was fascinating to me. So it took more than several months for me to put it all together and write the music and bring White Sean into writing with me the title song of the album, East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem, and then film it and then make a film out of it. So now, which is on Netflix. So, under the same name, so I'm thinking, okay, everything I do now will also maybe have a film along with it, a documentary, a story. So you become very active in many ways, and of course you write the music because you're constantly inspired and challenged. Some of the music can be mediocre, so you don't publish it. But while you're working and writing, say you write 10 songs a week, maybe 3 of them are something that you keep and put on your next album.
Well, actually, that brings up a question for writers and artists of like, can you tell immediately when something is mediocre? Do you have to sit on it a week or a month or something, and then you come back to it and you're like, ugh? Or because when you're writing it, if you knew it was mediocre while you're writing it, you wouldn't finish writing it.
Well, you have to see it for yourself. You feel it when you finished writing it. But for years I was very critical of my own writing, and I would discard or just put in the drawer a lot of songs that I thought were mediocre. And later on in years, I discovered that they had the best hooks and the most pop-oriented or commercial-oriented, and I should have used them, so I keep on bringing them out. You never know. It's good to work with a team or with a producer or with somebody that can help you feedback, and get you feel a little bit more either positive or completely negative about what you work. So you know how to concentrate on the essential and not on the esoteric.
Well, we have been talking essentially with David Broza. I've got to ask, I didn't get to this beforehand. Still getting a little bit on the dark side, the negative side there. You were in the Israeli army, as you mentioned. Did you see any action there? And I don't mean with Israeli women in the army. I mean,
That was my confrontation with the war was in the Lebanon War in 1982, where I was sent with 2 friends of mine, one a guitarist and one a poet, Jonathan Gesser, and we were sent in to take troops into Lebanon, and I spent 90 days there in the front lines under fire. It wasn't fun at all. It was pretty disturbing and traumatic experience, which I still, when I look back on it, I'm horrified. But that's part of the reality that I went through, and I don't, it's part of being Israeli, I guess.
And speaking of which, speaking of scary and sad things, one of your friends, someone that you worked with quite a bit, and I was a friend of yours, was a poet named Liam, right?
Oh, yeah.
That you did work with. And so you're friends, you've known him for years, you collaborate, you do this, and then, I don't know if it was out of the blue, but he kills himself. How do you reconcile? Do you go through that stage of like, oh, if only I called him the day before, I had no idea, or what do you do?
Well, no, we don't have any clue, including his wonderful wife, Hudson, Swanson. I mean, she was surprised herself. We knew he was sick. We knew he was getting weaker Well, I recorded one of my favorite songs that I recorded called "In Snow" is recorded to his lyrics, to his poem, and at least I was given that connection to him, which makes him inseparable from my repertoire, from my life, from my heart. You know, so I'm lucky that I had that I can continue to cherish and bring his memory as vivid as possible through his words.
Wow. Also, let's make a happier question here. You were married for many years. You're divorced, and you're. Are you dating anyone seriously, specially? Are you out there?
Oh my God! So you read my biography until like 15 years ago, right?
Well, it said something you were dating a designer after that, up until about 2011 was the last interview I read.
Okay.
Are you married again?
I got married on September 16th, 2011. That's when you stopped reading my biography.
There you go.
I married a beautiful woman, an Israeli fashion designer. Her name is Nili Lotan, and her based here in New York. And so that keeps me here in New York on edge and constantly producing from here.
And you have 3 children. Wait, I thought you were in. So you moved away from Tel Aviv because you were in Jersey, then Tel Aviv, and now you're in. Oh.
Well, no, I moved from New Jersey. I moved to Spain.
Oh.
Where I lived several years, and I recorded 3 albums there. Then I moved to Israel, had the divorce, and a few years later, then the remarriage to Nili, which and we live happily ever after. I go to Tel Aviv every month for 10 days.
Oh, nice.
She comes with me, or we find ways to be with each other as much as possible. And so, yeah, I'm very happily married.
Mazel, and you have 3 grown children. Are any of them in music, or what are they up to?
Well, my kids used to sing with me live on the road, and but as the years went by, each found their own direction. One is a chef, one is a producer, and one is becoming a lawyer. So, and all
Jewish lawyer. Yes, I'm sorry, but gotta give a mazel for that.
Of course, we can't stray from the tradition.
Well, we're talking traditionally and non-traditionally with the singer-songwriter and the man who plays guitar like a machine gun, David Broza. Remember to go to davidbroza.net to find out where he's appearing, which includes on September 6th, Friday night, not this Friday, but next Friday night, he will be at the Rubin Museum of Art in Manhattan. Plus, if you happen to be in Westchester, you can catch him on the 28th of September playing at the Emmeline Theater in Mamaroneck, New York. Last question for you, David, if I may call you David?
Anything you want.
Oh, well, this is a comical tragedy, I assume. You mentioned somewhere that your bar mitzvah was a disaster. Why?
Well, because I guess I didn't feel I was prepared, which I suppose is a common thing.
Yeah.
And I forgot to bring Lefkowitz with me to the synagogue on purpose.
Oh, well, yeah, but I assume they had a spare Haftorah for you at the synagogue.
No, actually, they made me run home and get it.
Oh, for God! Wow.
So I did. Tel Aviv was a small town.
No, I'm sorry, but that rabbi's an HOZ. I was like, go get it, bring it now. What? It's in the Bible. How hard is it to find the Haftorah in a synagogue?
The thing is that he was the rabbi.
Yeah.
Sorry, the rabbi who officiated my father's bar mitzvah.
Oh.
My bar mitzvah and then my wedding. So it was something that had a very, I guess, an important presence in our lives. Though at the age of 30, I couldn't care less.
Fair enough. Oh, I'm so glad I asked that question. Ladies and gentlemen, David Broza has been with us in the Daverhood. It just remains for me to wish you continued success in your music, in your life. And hey, we have some differences of opinions in terms of the Middle East and possibilities and solutions there. But for God's sakes, we both hope for peace. And as I like to put it, shalom to you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Rabbi. And we'll talk again, hopefully.
God willing. Shalom.
Thank you. Shalom.
Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, David Broza in the Daverhood, a man who sings and plays and sounds like this.
I will wait for you in an overcoat, neath a glass clock, as the hours turn and knock by the old hotel, in a blue tile bar, in the long slow twilight hour. I will take your hand, lead you past the train.
Oh my gosh, wasn't that lovely? Wasn't that a delight to talk to David Broza on Dave's Gone By on this Saturday, August 24th, 2019. Let me get my paperwork. Just a reminder, as my wife shows, I am Dave. Let's see if that's holding up. Yep, that's me, Dave Lefkowitz, the producer and host of the Dave's Gone By program. I want to thank so much Rabbi Sal Solomon for doing that interview with David Broza. And I want to thank, of course, David Broza and who else? The guy who set that up, Mark Gorney of World Disc, set up that interview. And I really, really appreciate his help on that. So yay! So isn't this a cool, if I say so myself, isn't this a great show so far? You're watching Dave's Gone By. To find out more about it, go to davesgoneby.com. And please, please, please help and patronize the folks who help sponsor this program, Hewlett Minuteman Press, the copy kings of Hewlett, Long Island. Yes, Hewlett Minuteman, owned by the Torong family since the mid-1970s. Miles and Carlene were the parents. Carlene is still there. Miles passed away, but the kids are running the place, and they also have some really terrific people helping out. It's Minuteman Press, and they are located right on Broadway, in that little strip mall just across the street from the giant Petco. I'm not sure if this is new enough because they moved about 2 stores down, but they're essentially in the same place that they've been since 1975. Here's what they do, okay? It's a franchise. It's part of the Minuteman Press franchise. They're all over the place, but you want to patronize the Hewlett one because A, you get to deal with the Torong family, and B, they do quality work, reasonable prices, and quick turnaround times. Let's look at the letter B on the services that they have available at Hewlett Minuteman. Because B for Broza, we've got badges, bags, balloons, banners, bindery, all the different things that they bind, birth announcements. As a matter of fact, if we have Asian people listening and you want to bind your children's feet, Hewlett Minuteman Press can do that for you. We have blind embossing. So if you have blind people and you want them embossed, this is a place to go. Booklets and bookmarks. After 2.5 hours, it becomes silly time here on Dave's Gone By. Brochures, bulletins, bumper stickers, business announcements, and card holders, and business cards and forms, and buttons. All of that and more. That's just the letter B over at Minuteman. And if you tell them Dave sent you, you get 10% off any job. Big or small, they do it all. 516-569-5577. Area code 516-569-5577. They're open 5 days a week until Labor Day, and then they're open 5.5 days a week for the fall and winter, and then early part of the spring. So yeah, they will do whatever you need. Hewlett Minuteman Press, they are the copy kings. And I, of course, feel like king of the hill, king of Sinai, whatever mountain Moses walked down, I forget. I feel king of that when I do a show like this, having so much fun, and thanking, by the way, those of you who have tuned back in during the David Broza interview. This has been happening. Like every week, we lose our internet connection. I can't tell whether people are still able to watch or if they've been dropped by Facebook or our provider. So we load it back up, and thanks so much for tuning back in. People like, oh gosh, I can't see all the way up, I'm sorry. But Tony, of course, Lisa, Eva, oh my God, my friend Eva, and Michael, and James, and Steve, and Ivan, and Nancy, and John, of course, John tunes in all the time, Andy, Paul, Michelle, and Martha, all these wonderful people who are watching us do what we do. And we still have a little bit more to do of the Dave's Gone By program. We've got our Colorado Limerick of the Damned coming up, but before then, as we promised, we're going to go back to story time. Bring the kids. We're not just musical here. We are poetic in honor of David Broza. Well, no, that's our limerick coming up, but kids will enjoy this too. This is the story, Why fish fart.
Tell me a story, tell me a story, tell me a story. Remember what you said. You promised me, you said you would. You gotta give in, so I'll be good. Tell me a story, then I'll go to bed.
So you know the story of Storytime. It was, speaking of the car issues that we're having back home in Greeley, Colorado with our battery not starting, we brought our car in, which actually has been a wonderful car. A car that hasn't been driven for half a year may have some battery leak issues. So a couple of years ago, though, it was time to have some brake pads worked on and some things changed and the car checked. We brought it into the local service station that we use. And while I was waiting, I was poking through the stuff that they have there for people to read, books and magazines. And it's a good thing that they have that, because my mom was in the shop with her car this week, and they told her it would take about an hour and a half, and it took 4 hours for them to finally get to and fix the car. She's waiting there the whole time. They can bring her home, but they can't bring her back. So she's just literally killing time, and she's got like a flip phone. She doesn't have a cell phone that she can look at and browse and surf and watch videos. She's just literally reliant on whatever reading material they happen to have there. So the service station that I went to with our car a couple of years ago back in Colorado, we had the daily newspaper, a couple of car magazines, a couple of books for grown-ups, and a lot of children's books, including A Cow for Hansel. A Cow for Hansel, which we read cover to cover, week after week, in a segment that we've decided to call Storytime. Well, since then, we spend a little time every week reading a story. And again, I love this segment because I don't have to do any work. I just have to make fun of other people's work. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not even making fun of this. I'm just enjoying Why Fish Fart, Gross But True Things You'll Wish You Didn't Know by the author Francesca Gould. So it has to do with people eating tarantulas and bugs and horrible jobs that people had in the Middle Ages, like people who had to clean squires, who had to clean knights in armor. And they could take the armor and scoop out, because you can go to the bathroom if you were in armor. I mean, you did, but you went in the armor. Some squire had to go in there and muck that out. And you'd be amazed at jobs that people have had. So they do all the really disgusting things, how tanners used to use dog poop. Dredger man, remember that from I think last week or 2 weeks ago? We had a fish rivers for corpses. That's fun. Let's get to, oh, isn't this cute? Let's get to vile bodies. A little skinky inky there from our octopus friend, vile bodies. Okay, so are you ready? Are you ready, Potato? I don't know if I want to watch this. Okay, Potato, I'll tell you what. Let's take a moment here before we start reading the book, because we're very excited here in the Daverhood. This happens a few times a year. We've never done this on the air. We're going to do this especially now. We've never made this part of the show, but I was able to contain myself because this came 2 days ago, and I've been waiting so patiently, and it's tough for me. But this is of course Potato. I have quite a few of them, both here in New York and in Colorado. Our Spuds Potato. I'm not going to tell the potato story again. I've told it many times on the show, but I've got a lot of these for some weird reason. Let's go put them down for a minute, because, ladies and gentlemen, a package came in the mail for old Dave this week. Package from eBay. So, yeah, I had to buy this package, but here it is. Something is in this box. Something wonderful. Something special. Let's open it, shall we? And yes, I pulled the tape off before just to be on the safe side, but I haven't actually opened the box. What's in the box? Oh, I really haven't opened the box. Here we go. What could it be? Is it a piano? Is it a new car? Is it PJ Souls circa 1979? No, it's a potato! Ladies and gentlemen, a potato has come. A brand new potato for the Daverhood. Let's see if he'll make friends. They're not very bright. I'll warn you. Hi. Hi, where are you from? He's from, I threw away the box already, so I'm not exactly sure where they're from. He's from eBay land, potato. So welcome. And notice, people say that they're all alike. They're not. Notice hard shell eyes, soft shell eyes, darker ribbon hat, lighter ribbon hat, spots in the same place, kind of, even on the tush. Different tags. Nope, same tags. Let's see the backs. This is interesting, I know, to only me, but this is incredibly interesting and beautiful to me. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Daverhood a brand new potato. Got any ketchup? Yeah, I'll be feeding you ketchup. I'm hungry now. Oh, don't you be demanding like that. You're living with me now. Please. All right. Or you know what, folks? I'm going to take just a moment to do this because he is new here and he's been waiting so patiently in the box for a day or two. Let me just give him his lunch. Hold on. Here we go. Is it Heinz? No, it's not Heinz. We just have the local stuff. Oh no, this is corn syrup in it. And what does this have? Most of our potatoes are fed on the better stuff. It's the organic Heinz with real sugar instead of corn syrup. I've never heard of this brand before, but it's red gold quality tomato ketchup. So, are you ready, potato? Oh God, so good. All right. Save and share. Okay. All right, potato. Would you like? This is the other potato here. Need another table, actually. Okay. Okay, here we go. Oh man, that's not bad. It's not Heinz, and it's certainly not Sir Kensington. Oh, they really miss the Sir Kensington that we had in Colorado. But maybe we can do this. Maybe we can do like the Lady and the Tramp thing. Hold on. Here we go. Here's our okay. Okay. What the hell is wrong with me? Who does this? 710 episodes was a good run, wasn't it? Anyway, we have new potatoes in the Daverhood, ladies and gentlemen, just in time for story time. Speaking of vile things and gross things that you don't necessarily want to know about. Ladies and gentlemen, why fish fart? Here we go. What underwear blocks the smell of farts? God knows I'm not wearing it. Let's face it, everyone farts, and studies have shown that when men and women eat the same food, women produce more concentrated gas than men. In other words, women make stinkier farts. Present company accepted. Okay. One inventive husband decided he wanted to take action. Buck Weimer of Pueblo, Colorado. Yeah, okay. Buck Weimer of Pueblo set to work to find a way to prevent the odor of his wife's farts from taking over the bedroom. Buck had the idea of using a filter to absorb any bad smells. Okay, I get it. Maybe charcoal in there. He experimented with the filters used in the gas masks worn by coal miners. He put one in his pants, and although it didn't work perfectly, he knew he was on the right track. Oh, I love this. He worked on different versions for 6 years, and then came up with a brand new invention, Under-Ease, airtight underwear with a replaceable charcoal filter that removes bad-smelling gases before they can escape. Brilliant, right? Unfortunately, they don't prevent the noise. Well, certainly. I also wonder if it makes your ass black. And you know, you should see my black ass. So no one could steal his revolutionary idea. Buck received a patent in 1998. Buck's Under-Ease underwear are made from a soft nylon-type fabric with elastic around the waist and legs, kind of like a diaper. Go figure. See, everything is shared. Everything was meant to be. We were meant to put that up today. Here we go. The removable filter, which looks a bit like a shoulder pad, is made of charcoal sandwiched between 2 layers of Australian sheep's wool, 16 sheep. Buck claims that the multi-layer filter pad traps the 1 to 2% of human gas that creates the foul smell, which is mostly hydrogen sulfide, but allows the remaining non-smelling gas to pass through. It also allows the natural buildup of body heat to pass through. That's excellent. The underwear can be worn anytime, anywhere, at night, at parties, and on airplanes, and they are machine washable. The company's motto is, wear them for the ones you love. Why has this not become more popular and taken off? If you've ever been in an elevator with several people or in a department, always in a department store. I'm always walking behind someone in a department store. All right, to be honest, someone's walking behind me and stuff happens. I need those under ease, by the way. Actually, we are over 12. Letting you know that. It's 12:01 in the afternoon, Eastern Time, here in the Daverhood. You're watching the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the Stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz. Write to me at davesgoneby@aol.com. Check my Twitter feed, Radio Dave 2, and of course, you can drop me or make sure that you get people to watch and enjoy this program right here on Facebook channel, Dave's Gone By. We're doing our 710th episode of the show. We've been calling it BROZ before HOZ, thanks to our guest, David Broza, and we're in the middle of our story time segment, reading a little bit more of Why Bish Fart. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the question for you. Here's the question. Who, besides me, who was the fart maniac? See, my wife hates this book, but I think she'd like this chapter. Who was the fart maniac? In the 1800s, a French baker named Joseph Pujol, oh, of course, oh yeah, Pujol. From 1857, he died in 1945, had a second job in the theater. Oh, I didn't know he was called the fart maniac. We all know about the famous, no wait, that was Lefkowitz. Wait, who was he? Okay, Joseph Pujol took the stage, often wearing clothing that exposed his bottom, and made a lot of money, entertaining large audiences with various tunes, all produced fricatively. His stage name was Le Pegaman. Okay, so it's the same guy, which literally means the fart maniac. Now I got it. And by the way, Mel Brooks fans, I think there's a character in Blazing Saddles named Le Pegaman, which of course dovetails with the famous scene around the campfire there. His remarkable talents included imitating various sounds and doing party tricks with his farts. Using a rubber tube, he was able to blow out a candle 12 inches away just by bending over and farting. Also, he could even play a couple of tunes on a flute. Yeah. That's putting a sideways smile on my face, if you know what I'm saying. In 1892, he entertained audiences at Paris's Moulin Rouge. I think I would have enjoyed the show more on Broadway if they had that. He would begin with a series of quiet farts, saying that they came from a little girl, then a mother-in-law, then a bride on her wedding night, and he would build up to very loud ones that could go on for about 10 seconds. He completed the performance by mimicking the sound of cannon fire, producing an impressively loud, booming noise. Oh, man. And I do fondly remember there was a guy that Howard Stern had on during their video era who would come on and he would be able to take air. Somehow he did this. He took air in and he was able to expel it. So there was some smell, apparently. They had Boy Gary on with a mask, holding the microphone up to this poor fellow's ass. Not poor fellow at all, lucky fellow's ass. And he couldn't fart in tune, but he could do different blasts and different time sequences and progressions. It was really a magnificent thing. I think there was also a farter in the Gong Show movie. Just saying, it's not a completely lost art, ladies and gentlemen, or a lost fart. By the way, I'm assuming this is also going to be about farts. I'm not sure. But the question is, what were Waterloo teeth? Oh boy, I don't know. We're going to find out. What were Waterloo teeth? Now, I know there's an old phrase, my back teeth were floating when someone has to really go to the bathroom, but let's see. At the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, so many lives were lost that there were rich pickings for the British troops when the battle was over. The dead were stripped of anything of value, including their teeth. Such a vast number of teeth were extracted from the dead at Waterloo that many years afterwards, dentures were known as Waterloo teeth. A tooth transplant involved taking a tooth from one person and transplanting it into the head of another person, and many people unwittingly wore teeth extracted from dead soldiers. Tooth transplants plummeted in popularity when it was discovered that infections could be transmitted in this way. One assumes they would boil them and pull out the old pulp, which is actually more disgusting than anything in this book anyway. One more little bit of a mini chapter here from the book Why Fish Farts. Which disease caused its victims' organs to liquefy? Which disease caused this? It was the Black Death. I was just thinking about the Black Death this week. I have no idea why the bubonic plague popped into my head. And I'm no reason, but here we are talking about it. It was between 1348 to 51, the worst plague history has ever recorded. Its name came from the black swellings found on many of its victims, and other symptoms included pain, fever, and vomiting blood. So, I think I would have enjoyed Moulin Rouge if they had that in there too. The plague caused internal bleeding, and in the final days, the victims' vital organs began turning to liquid and rotting away. Mercifully, death would come soon after. Once a person contracted the plague, recovery was rare, although few people did actually survive the disease. The Black Death was responsible for killing up to half the people in Europe, and it struck England in 1348. It was not surprisingly worst in the cities, when there was enormous overcrowding and poor hygiene and sanitation. When the plague reached London, tens of thousands of people died, nearly half the city's population. Over the period of the Black Death, England went from 6 million to 3 million people. So many perished that the graveyards were full and corpses had to be hurled into fields. That's sanitary. Plague epidemics occurred regularly across Europe following the Black Death, and the last outbreak of plague in England was the Great Plague of 1665. As in 1348, it spread quickly and killed a bunch of people. The plague's victims developed painful, pus-filled swellings, or buboes, and I must admit, I do love the word buboes. Will you kindly say it with me? Say it with me, please. Buboes. I love words. I love Fort Lupton. That's a word I love. I now love buboes as well. They really, if you got those, you were going to die. To help ensure victims did not pass on the infection, the British government forced them to stay in their houses, and their doors were nailed shut and marked with a large red cross. Searchers were paid to remove corpses of victims from homes and walked around streets yelling, "Bring out your dead! Bring out your dead!" Monty Python fans take note. As more people became sick, the rich left the city, and most of the doctors and clergy went with them. On the other hand, the poor were not allowed to leave, shades of bad out of hell, right? As they were seen as the carriers of disease and could infect others. The Great Plague claimed about 100,000 victims, and they believe, experts do, that it was that the plague was caused by a bacterium called Yersinia pestis, which lived inside fleas. The fleas were carried by black rats, and when the fleas bit a person, it would transfer the bacteria and therefore the plague into the victim. Some experts, though, take a very different view, and they say that because the Black Death spread so quickly, it might have been caused by a virus passing person to person, like the disease Ebola, which also causes massive internal bleeding. Everybody having a good lunchtime, ladies and gentlemen? Well, anyway, not everything's funny on this show, certainly, or in this book, Why Fish Fart. We went from the delights of underwear that traps fart smell into the horrors of the Black Death. Boy, oh boy, isn't that Dave's Gone By kind of fun? Anyway, thanks so much for all the people who are tuning in so late into the program, because we're supposed to be done by noon Eastern time, and yet here we are. We've got so much to do, so much to finish. Welcome, by the way, to Paul and Michelle and Martha and Karen and Ian, our friend in the Daverhood, Jeffrey and Praveen. Praveen is asking, what is the topic today? Well, we've had bunches of topics on the show. We were talking, Rabbi Saul was to musician David Broza. We went to Greeley Crimes and Old Times earlier in the show. We did Inside Broadway. I reviewed Bad Out of Hell and talked about Broadway theater. What else did we do? We did our advertisements for Hewlett Minuteman Press and TotalTheater.com and Performing Arts Insider. What else? We've done a lot, right? Talked to my wife for a little bit. We had a lot of fun. So thanks for the thumbs up. We're not quite done, because I did mention that Rabbi Saul had a great time talking with David Broza. So first of all, a reminder that you can see David Broza September 6th, Friday night. He will be playing at the Rubin Museum of Art. They have a lot of concerts there. It's Friday night, September 6th, with David Broza at the Rubin Museum in Midtown Manhattan. Go to davidbroza.net for information about that, information about his other concerts and his touring, as well as all his albums. He's got more than a dozen, going back to the late 70s. So it's davidbroza.net. And also, thank you so much to Rabbi Saul Solomon for doing that interview. Now, Rabbi Saul, he's been a busy little Jew. Well, first of all, he's got his website, shalomdammit.com. That is the place to read and hear his rabbinical reflections, his mini sermons, also the hilarious TV show that he did for Long Island cable TV about 10 years ago now. He did 10 episodes of Shalom Dammit, Rabbi Saul Solomon's Peace, Love, and Acid Reflux Hour. I think David Broza would appreciate that title. 10 wonderful half-hour episodes. They're all, the links are right there. They're on YouTube. Go to shalomdammit.com. And of course, you can go there to watch the long version, the nascent, incipient, early version of his stage show, Shalom Dammit, An Evening with Rabbi Saul Solomon. The link to the YouTube entire show is there. 2 hours of comedy and music with Rabbi Saul Solomon. It's all at Shalom, D-A-M-M-I-T, shalomdammit.com. And we thank the rabbi so much for doing that. Now, Rabbi Saul is, of course, a longtime friend of the Daverhood. He was on our first episode. David Broza is a brand new friend of the Daverhood. Well, we have a bunch of other people who've appeared on the show in months and years past, and we like to check in on them and see what they're up to and how they're doing. We call this segment, if I could just find the paper that it's on, the friends, hang with me, folks, here we go. The many, 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 many terrific friends of the Daverhood. So yeah, let's keep tabs on what people who've been on this program in the past are doing now and in the future. For example, tomorrow, Sunday, August 25th, you can see 2 musical friends of the Daverhood. I'm talking about Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary. He is on a double bill with Melanie. My God, Melanie and Peter Yarrow together. That's at the Suffolk Theater in Riverhead tomorrow. Or someone we're very proud who's been on the show, Judy Collins. She is going to be at West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center. That is also tomorrow. So a big day for Long Islanders who love that 60s, 70s kind of music. From this week, August 31st through early September, there's a musical that they're trying out at the Public Theater called Hercules. Hercules by Alan Menken, our friend, very proud. He's done tons of musical theater with David Zippel. This is called Hercules. It's at the Delacorte Theater, Shakespeare in the Park. So this is a big deal for them because usually, Shakespeare in the Park does Shakespeare. And here they're putting out a new musical, really cool. So that's happening from August 31st through early September? Is it really just early September? Well, I guess it has to be because it's Shakespeare outside in the park at the Delacorte. And go see the Delacorte now because they're going to be redoing it. They're going to close it for like a year and a half to remake the whole stage, the whole backstage area, and everywhere. So this is getting to be your last chance in a while to do Shakespeare in the Park from Lincoln's from the Public Theater. Excuse me. Now through tomorrow. Oh boy, yeah, you just have another day to catch Alice Ripley in the solo show, The Pink Unicorn. That is at the Cell Theater. Or, oh my gosh, I didn't get to see this, and I wish I did. Steve Ross and K.T. Sullivan are doing a Noel Coward tribute called Love Noel at the Irish Repertory Theater on West 22nd Street, and that show features a set by James Morgan. So we have a double Friends to the Daverhood on that show. Penny Arcade is doing her show Longing Last... It's so hard after 3 hours to keep talking, but it's Penny Arcade's Longing Lasts Longer at Joe's Pub on Lafayette Street. That is definitely go. She was a wonderful guest, so definitely check her out. Provocateur and comedian Penny Arcade. Playing now through the end of August, A White Man's Guide to Rikers Island is at the Producers Club. It was recently extended, so you have a bit more time to see it. A White Man's Guide to Rikers Island, directed by Thomas G. Waits, off-Broadway at the Producers Club. I think it's off-Broadway at the Producers Club. Sally Mays, our very talented singer and actress friend of the Daverhood. She is in a musical called Sidekicked at New Jersey's Cape May stage. She plays Vivian Vance, so it's the story of this woman who was on the Lucille I Love Lucy. Check that out if you're in New Jersey. See, David Broza should still be in New Jersey, so he can go see Sally Mays in this show called Sidekicked. What else? Oh, excuse me. I should have mentioned this. White Man's Guide to Rikers Island, directed by Thomas G. Waits. That is extended to the end of September. So not just the end of August, to actually have a whole more, like a month and a half, to see that show at the Producers Club. On Broadway, through the end of October only, Carole King musical Beautiful, and it's a very, very good show. This is at the Stephen Sondheim Theater, booked by our friend Douglas McGrath. At the Walter Kerr Theater, watch Andre DeShields. He's brilliant, and he won the Tony for Hadestown. Come From Away is written by Irene Sankoff and David Hein. That's at the Schoenfeld Theater. Danny Burston is terrific in Moulin Rouge at the Hirschfeld Theater. And David Yazbek wrote the score for Tootsie at the Marquis Theater, which also features our friend Julie Halston. Dakin Matthews is in To Kill a Mockingbird. Oh! To Kill a Mockingbird features our friend Dakin Matthews. Thank you very much. I got that out. It's at the Schubert Theater. And Hamilton features Daniel Breaker at the Richard Rogers Theater. Jim Caruso's Cast Party every Monday night at Birdland. Go check out StageBuddy.com for news about New York nightlife. StageBuddy.com, which was founded by our friend Evan Seplow, and Dr. Demento doing new and old Dr. Demento shows at drdemento.com. Charlie Gross and Leslie Hoban Blake are doing their show, Two on the Aisle, on Manhattan Neighborhood Network. That's a cable public access TV show where they review theater, as does Eva Heinemann, who's just been tuning in, as a matter of fact. Her show, High Drama, you can find out about on her Facebook page, High Drama and Two on the Aisle, if you love theater like I do. Bob Cudmore doing podcasts about upstate New York history at bobcudmore.com. David Kenny, he is still doing his radio show of cabaret music and show tunes. It's called Everything Old is New Again, Sunday nights on WBAI Radio. And check the pages of the New York Post 2 or 3 times a week to read the writings about sports and media coverage by Phil Mushnick. And those, my friends, are the friends of the Daverhood. So we've done poetic, and I didn't want to fade that out. I just want to stop it because we're 3 hours and 20 minutes into the show already. What else do we have left to do? Something quick, something short. And in honor of David Broza this week, something versified and poetical. I am, of course, talking about the Colorado Limerick of the Damned. This is where every week I do a short poem of about 5 lines about a town or place or municipality in Colorado. And this week, oh my goodness, we're on a rock solid foundation this time, because we're going to be going to Marble, Colorado.
A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick.
Rocky Mountain High, indeed. We're going to Colorado for our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. And as I said, Marble. Who knew? Who knew there was a Marble, Colorado? But there is. It's a small town with a population of just over 100 in Gunnison County, so that's sort of south of Greeley, where we had been. It was established in 1899, and why was it named Marble? Well, it's got a really well-known and beautiful marble quarry, from whence came the Lincoln Memorial and the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. So when people go, it's apparently as beautiful and perfect and pure marble as you even get in Italy and in places in Europe, this particular spot in Colorado. So I decided to write a little sick poem, a limerick, about Marble, Colorado. Here we go. A weightlifting wonder from Marble put 600 pounds on his barbell. When hoisting that mass, he ruptured his ass. He's fine, but the cleanup was horrible. I really like that one. And look how appropriate this diaper turned out to be, ladies and gentlemen. Our Colorado Limerick of the Damned here on the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the Stream. So glad that you've tuned in today for our 710th episode of the show. We've been calling it BROZ Before HOZ in honor of David Broza, our fine guest. Go to davidbroza.net to find out about his albums and about his touring stuff. Do check out my website, davesgoneby.com, to find out more about the show and to hear all our archives. Because so many people, you know, when you do a show that's 3 or 4 hours long, not everybody, even though you should, not everybody can stay tuned the whole time. And people sleep late and they're tuning in on the West Coast where we're starting at 6 in the morning. I get it. Go to our archives. They're all on YouTube, and they're also, even better, go to the website, davesgoneby.com. Thousands of hours of what we do in the Daverhood, all the interviews, all the songs, all the parody songs that I do, all the Greeley crimes and old times, the wretched puns of destiny that we were doing a couple of years back, and of course our special guests, including a separate archive where we've extracted the interviews. So if you're just interested in some of the kinds of people that we mentioned as friends of the Daverhood, you can go right there. Anyway, it's all at davesgoneby.com. Remember, you can also email me, davesgoneby@aol.com, and check out my Twitter feed, Radio Dave 2. By all means, bring people to this Facebook site and tell them, hey, this is where it happens. Every Saturday, 9 until noon or thereabouts, facebook.com/Dave's Gone By. And we'd love to have more people like us and follow us and see us first. And of course, join us and enjoy the show every week. By the way, speaking of the weeks ahead, we've already got some wonderful guests lined up coming up. So I'm not sure what's happening next week, but I can tell you with about a 99% degree of certainty that on September 7th, our Saturday morning episode, 2 weeks from today, we will feature not a blueberry or a raspberry or, thank goodness, a dingleberry. See, it all ties together. No, we will have a tuckerberry. What, might you ask, is a tuckerberry? Well, if you were watching LA Law back in the day, you remember that 2 of the stars of the show were Michael Tucker and Jill Eikenberry. They're a married couple, and as everybody always says, this sort of opposites attract thing. He was a short, kind of lumpy-dumpy, but kind of cute, balding Jew. And she was a very good-looking, tallish, shiksa goddess type Jill Eikenberry, right? Both actors. And they tried very often to act together. What do you know? They were cast together in this show as two lawyers, as a couple, with a great sexual attraction for each other. They really got along well. And audiences loved them. They were among the most popular characters on that show. So we are going to have the Tuckerberry in the Daverhood on September 7th, because Michael Tucker has written a play that is going to be done, I'm pretty sure it's at 59 theaters in September. He's written a comedy about three couples, of three different age ranges, and their friendships and their long-term marriages, and of course a monkey wrench is thrown in. He'll be talking to us about his play. It's called Fern Hill, and Jill Eikenberry is in it. So they're not acting together. He wrote it. She's in it. It's called Fern Hill. But Michael Tucker and Jill Eikenberry will be talking about it together with us and with Rabbi Saul in 2 weeks on the program. And then scheduled for still about a month from now. We're not 100% sure which Saturday, but we do have, since we mentioned Vivian Banks before, we have Lucy Arnaz going to be joining us in the Daverhood. Her husband, Larry Luckenbill, was on the program about 2-3 years ago. Now we finally get Lucy in the Daverhood with us. So yeah, you just want to be here on Saturday mornings or whenever you can in our archives to see all the stuff that we do here in the Daverhood. Best way to find out, of course, check the website davesgoneby.com and this Facebook page. Well, it is almost 12:30 in the afternoon on this Saturday, August 24th, 2019. Gonna wrap up our 710th edition of Dave's Gone By. It just remains for me to thank so many of you for tuning in, for all the nice things that you post on Facebook throughout the week, for the messages that I get, the emails I get. It really makes a huge difference when I know that there are people out there listening, enjoying the show, spreading the love and the madness. And so I'm going to wish you a very happy weekend. It's going to be nicer and a bit cooler here in New York, thank goodness, because it couldn't have gotten any hotter after a while. Let's hear, we mentioned Rabbi Saul was talking to David Broza earlier about his friendship with, what's his name, with Townes Van Zandt. And I believe this is Broza's version of a Van Zandt song. I might be confusing it with another one. But even so, here's David Broza doing Silver Dollar. So I hope listening to this show has paid off for all of you. And see you next week. Gone By.
The night grew cold, the moon shone blue. When I hit the broad highway, the winds of change turned strong and strange.
Strong and strange. Could any words more succinctly describe Dave's Gone By, right? Anyway, thanks for not being strangers. Thanks for tuning in every week. And let's say one last hello to our brand new Potato, his debut. Hello, thank you so much. Yeah, what a beautiful face. I would bring our dog up. Our dog didn't do a cameo today because he was sleeping mostly through the show, but Potato wasn't. He was wide awake and eating his ketchup and thanking all of you for being in the Daverhood and Gone By.